Chapter 736, Who Still Refuses to Accept This? 2. In just a moment, the surrounding disciples were dumbfounded. The Blue Cloud Peak disciples stood up, stumbling, and glared at Yi Qingtang with clenched teeth. Yi Chen, just you wait. I welcome you anytime. Yi Qingtang laughed coldly. Those Blue Cloud Peak disciples then left in a flurry. They were merely ordinary disciples of the lowest level in Blue Cloud Peak, and their skills were really nothing much. At most, they could only bully disciples like Sheng Qinyu who just entered the valley. They were relying on the fact that admirable Sky Peak disciples did not dare to brashly step forward to help free the victim from the predicament. Unexpectedly, they met a tough cookie like Yi Qingtang today. When they saw the Blue Cloud Peak disciples leaving, the onlooking disciples finally dispersed gradually, with an additional memory of Yi Qingtang, who just got in through the back door. Sheng Qinyu looked at Yi Qingtang extremely gratefully. Thank you, Senior Brother Yi. Thank you, Senior Brother Yi. The white sage which he lost and obtained once again was really important to him. We are all disciples of the same master. There's no need for thanks. Yi Qingtang smiled and waved her hands. Yin Qingluo looked at Yi Qingtang with a slight frown and a complicated gaze. This fellow who got in through the back door was not too unlikable, but this incident might not be over so easily. After watching for a long time, Yin Shu eventually took a step forward and called for Yi Qingtang. Junior Brother Yi. Senior Brother Yin? Yi Qingtang looked at Yin Shu. You must be careful in the future. Since you are a disciple of our master, you should take note of what you say and how you act from now on. Disciples from our peak must not stir trouble in the valley. Do you understand? Yin Shu did not have much of an expression on his face. What Yi Qingtang did today was indeed satisfying, but it defied perfected Xuanshan's orders. After those Blue Cloud Peak returned, they might still make some noise about it. If not for the sake of the larger interest, either he or Yin Qingluo could easily finish those few people with middling skills. Furthermore, Yi Chen did enter through the back door, and this news would be circulated in various Falling Sky Valley's peaks very quickly. His actions today would probably spark criticisms again. If this implicated Master, it would be bad. Although Yin Shu felt that Yi Qingtang's actions were still alright, he also thought that he was too public about it. Such a person who became a disciple under the cautious perfected Xianxin with that method would really stir up quite some trouble. Yi Qingtang naturally understood what Yin Shu meant. Yin Shu had always obeyed perfected Xuanshan's orders. In Yi Qingtang's previous life, when proposed to maintain the harmony among the peaks, Yin Shu executed it fully, and only thought of protecting it in spite of suffering injustice. Loyal as he was too obstinate. I understand. I'll take notice in the future. Yi Qingtang nodded faintly. Anyway, even if she reasoned with Yin Shu over what was right, Yin Shu's mind was probably too stubborn to agree with her, so she might as well save the saliva. She had already reached Falling Sky Valley now, and whatever she wanted to do was up to her. After seeing Yi Qingtang's reflective attitude, Yin Shu did not say anything else and told Yin Qingluo beside him. Junior sister Yin, bring junior brother Sheng to check his injuries first. Those Blue Cloud Peak disciples did not spare any mercy in kicking Sheng Qinyu. Chapter 737. Who Still Refuses to Accept This? 3. Alright. Yin Qingluo nodded slightly. Yin Shu did not say anything, and continued bringing Yi Qingtang around the valley. Sheng Qianyu's eyes were filled with gratitude as he watched Yi Qingtang's fading back. Senior sister Yin, this senior brother Yi. Yin Qingluo returned to her senses and looked at the thankful Sheng Qinyu. Yi Chen was just apprenticed to master, and does not really understand the valley's situation yet. For today's incident you've suffered. Sheng Qinyu shook his head. Am all to blame for not seeing people clearly, and being too trustful of others. I know. Master is thinking in consideration of the general situation. Yin Qingluo sighed. Incidents like today's happened in Falling Sky Valley occasionally, and they admirable Sky Peak disciples have been swallowing the insult and suppressing their indignation. In terms of grievance, which of them was short of any? Yet, even if they were aggrieved, they could only endure it. Master has his own difficulties. Currently, All the other peak masters have veiled criticisms over Master being the acting valley master. For the stability of Falling Sky Valley, we can only be like this. Sheng Qianyu nodded, although he agreed in his heart. One should judge the matter as it stood. When he was picked on by those Blue Cloud Peak disciples, when was he not aggrieved? However, this could not be said out. All right. I'll bring you to check your injuries first. Yin Qingluo did not say anything further, and brought Sheng Qianyu to the physician. Coincidentally, Yin Qingluo saw 3 familiar figures at the physician. Eldest senior brother, senior sister Yi, senior brother Qian. There were 2 males and a female in the room. Apart from the devil incarnate, Qian Zhe, from before, there were 2 other people. The male was tall and had an extraordinary bearing, while the lady beside had a graceful frame and an enchanting face. Little Qingqing, why are you here? Yi Ningxi sat on a chair cross-legged as she supported her chin with a hand, and her rosy lips formed a bewitching smile. Yi Ningxi was perfected Zuanshan's disciple, and was born with enchanting beauty. Although her natural endowments were extremely high, she was temperamental. If she was not wearing the Falling Sky Valley uniform, it seemed that she was from an evil cult just by a look. Yin Qingluo immediately recounted the events, and let the physician check Sheng Qianyu's injuries. The Blue Cloud Peak people are getting more and more outrageous. Only you few people have a good temper and can endure it. Yi Ningxi spoke with a raised brow. If I have to say, just eliminate anyone who refuses to accept it. Can a dead person still come out to stir trouble? Qianzhe yawned from a side and spoke casually. Yin Qingluo had a little headache as she looked at these 2 people. After Master gave the orders, most of the disciples obeyed him, including those who were perverse and unwilling to suffer those grievances. Yi Ningxi and Qianzhe were 2 of them. Although they were unwilling to follow his words, they did not defy it deliberately either, and they spent less time in the valley, fortunately. Out of sight, out of mind. In addition, these 2 people had brilliant skills and an eccentric personality. No ordinary disciples from other peaks would seek death and offend them too much. Enough, a cold voice rang. The tall youth who had remained silent frowned slightly. Even eccentric people like Yi Ningxi and Qianzhe did not say anything more after that person spoke. Eldest senior brother. Yin Qingluo looked up at that male with reverence. Chapter 738, Brewing Storm, 1. This man was Gu Yihan, perfected Zuanshan's eldest disciple, and he possessed outstanding endowments and a steady nature. He also had prestige among the admirable Sky Peak disciples. You're always talking about these. If you're so free, why don't you cultivate more? Gu Yihan swept a cold glance at Yi Ningxi and Qianzhe. Qianzhe shrugged. I'm just speaking casually. Why did you take it seriously, eldest senior brother? That new fellow seems strange though. I reckon he spent quite a sum for Master to accept him as a disciple. I heard that the Yichen fellow is very handsome. Little Qingqing, have you seen him? Yi Ningxi looked at Yin Qingluo with a grin. Yin Qingluo's headache worsened. Cultivation is dependent on oneself. Even if one was apprenticed, it is meaningless if he does not cultivate diligently, Gu Yihan said. Yi Ningxi and Qianzhe exchanged a look. Ever since perfected Qianxin took on the position of the acting valley master, there were more and more things he had to manage. Gu Yihan had been by perfected Zuanshan's side since young, and was the most mature. In addition, he was rather gifted. Thus, he would watch his junior brothers and sisters cultivate when perfected Qianxin was busy. Both Yi Ningxi and Qianzhe were not short of Gu Yihan's nagging. All right. I still have something on. I'll take my leave first. Qianzhe yawned and waved. Similarly, Yi Ningxi took the opportunity and found an excuse to escape. Gu Yihan did not stay on any longer and left after taking the things that he needed. After following Yen Shu around the entire Falling Sky Valley, Yi Qingtang finally returned to her own room. The current Falling Sky Valley was the same as in her memory, just that it was only a few years earlier. Yi Qingtang had stepped into Falling Sky Valley, but she was unaware that there was a storm in the Monarch City because of the black market incident. Covered in dirt, the Dragon Tiger General recounted his encounters with a sullen expression in the Premier's residence. The Nine Knights Dynasty Premier, Qin Long, listened to the Dragon Tiger General's complaints without any emotion. The black market has its rules. Your son did act rashly this time. I know about this already. You can return first. Qin Long waved a hand. The Dragon Tiger General wanted to say something more, but did not dare to offend the premier. He could only wipe his tears as he departed from the premier's residence. Once the Dragon Tiger General left, Qin Shun, who had been standing aside, silently told his father, "If what the Dragon Tiger General said is true, that young man must have a pretty impressive background." When the Dragon Tiger General mentioned the incident in the black market, Qin Shun heard every word of it. The person had the skills of a half-step yin-yang perfected lord, and was very young as described by the Dragon Tiger General. His future was beyond measure, and becoming a true yin-yang perfected lord in the future was not an issue. Half-step yin-yang perfected lord. Qin Long narrowed his eyes slightly. Such a powerful figure is indeed rare. Since he came to the monarch city, we must pay attention to him. It would be best if we can make use of this person. If not, judging from his actions, I'm afraid he will be trouble, Qin Shun said. Qin Long nodded. The Dragon Tiger General has already sent someone to draw that person's portrait. Have him send it over sometime soon, and take a look at the person's appearance. If possible, employ someone to find out about that person's background, though you must not be exposed. Interact with him if there's a chance. It would be best if he is willing to work for us. Chapter 739, Brewing Storm 2. Yes. Qin Shun nodded. If a half-step yin-yang perfected lord could be used for oneself, it would naturally be a doubling of might. However, if not, it was a huge latent threat. Ouyang Qian is back in the monarch city now. I heard that she was rather traumatized from the trip to the mystic realm. You can make use of this opportunity and pacify her. Qin Long looked at his son, and continued on. The Ouyang family clan has a powerful force in the Nine Knights dynasty, and Ouyang Qian is Ouyang clan master's beloved daughter. Even her other brothers are not as doted on as her. If you can marry Ouyang Qian, it will be extremely beneficial for us in the future. I understand. I've already interacted with her quite a number of times previously. Looking at her attitude, she does have some feelings for me. I believe that this can be accomplished in no time, Qin Shun said slowly, confident that he could take Ouyang Qian down. In the entire Nine Knights dynasty, Qin Shun's position and appearance were considered the cream of the crop, and there was barely anyone who could contest against him. Moreover, his family and Ouyang Qian's were well matched in social status. That will be best. Qin Long nodded slightly. Investigate the background of that half-step yin-yang perfected lord, and interact with Ouyang Qian. You must not slacken your efforts in these two matters. The Tiangang sect master has sent someone to confer with me recently, and I will not be able to leave to do anything else in this period of time. Qin Shun nodded with smiles in his eyes. Currently his father, Qin Long, could be said to hold absolute power in Nine Knights dynasty, and that young emperor was fooled to be extremely obedient. If he could gain the support of Tiangang sect, a super sect, there was no one in the entire Nine Knights dynasty who could shake his father's position. Tiangang sect already has the intention to work with Nine Knights dynasty since some time ago, though the previous emperor was unwilling to. However, it's not something he can control anymore. Qin Long's lips curled into a sneer. Qin Shun did not say anything, and seemed to be in thought, as he looked at his father's expression. Nine Knights dynasty's previous emperor was in the prime of his life, when he suddenly came down with a severe illness, and he had to pass his position down to his son. As for the reason behind the previous emperor's sickness, it was a question to the entire imperial court. However, Qin Shun understood one point. Ever since the previous emperor abdicated, his father had increasing authority in the Nine Knights dynasty, and the young emperor was all the more trustful of his father. Was his father involved in the previous emperor's illness? While Qin Shun was curious, he did not ask about it. Oh right. Fuling City seems to be quite ill-behaved these few months, Qin Long suddenly said. The city lord of Fuling City is an official who served the royal family for a long time. Although he is far from the central authority, he still acts haughtily, Qin Shun said. Didn't he just serve that person before? That person has already disappeared for over 10 years now. Who else in the Nine Knights dynasty remembers her? Since Fuling City is not behaving, let the emperor decree that the city lord of Fuling City makes a trip to the monarch city. As Qianlong spoke, he spread out an imperial decree on his table and wrote a few lines. Afterward, he took out the emperor's jade seal which he carried on him and directly stamped on the imperial decree that he personally wrote. Have someone send it to Fuling City. Yes. Qin Shen received the imperial decree, and a scoff flashed across his eyes. Chapter 740 Brewing Storm 3. There was an abundance of spirit energy in Falling Sky Valley, and Yi Qingtang's speed of cultivation advancement was way faster than when she was in Xianling's sect. However, she was already a half-step yin-yang perfected lord now, and it was still insufficient if she wanted to enter the true yin-yang perfected lord state in a short time. However, the time left for her was not a lot. Xianling sect's defense would disappear in just a few months. By then, Yunxiao sect would definitely not let Xianling sect off. Given Yi Qingtang's current skills, although she could look down upon the group of people from Yunxiao sect, it was not enough to contend against the entire Yunxiao sect just by herself. Only by entering the yin-yang perfected lord could she truly resolve Xianling sect's crisis. Furthermore, Yi Qingtang looked up at the familiar scenery in Falling Sky Valley. In her previous life, her master, perfected Xianshen, became the acting valley master, which attracted the dissatisfaction with various peaks. Although her master maintained the harmony within the valley with all his might, and tolerated many things in consideration of the overall situation, he was suppressed by the other peak masters not long later, and was forced to give up the position of the acting valley master. Because of that, Falling Sky Valley became segregated and ultimately was met with a calamity. It was also at that time when her master was killed by Yi Yu. After a rebirth, Yi Qingtang had long seen that the different peak masters had their own designs, and that her master was the only one who would maintain the harmony within the valley. This was also the reason why the old valley master handed the acting valley master position to her master from the start. In this life, Yi Qingtang would never let such an incident happen again. She would not allow anyone to force her master into giving up the valley master position. Although she could suppress all the Falling Sky Valley disciples with her current skills, it was still insufficient against the peak masters. Falling Sky Valley had 12 peaks, and most of the peak masters were in the yin-yang perfected lord state. Furthermore, the 3 peak masters who forced her master in giving up the valley master position were all yin lords of the yin-yang perfected lord state. If Yi Qingtang did not want the tragedy from her previous life to happen again, the only option was to enter the yin-yang perfected lord state as quickly as possible. With various urgent matters staring at her in the face, Yi Qingtang increasingly felt the need to raise her skills rapidly. At that thought, Yi Qingtang immediately thought of the dragon vein, which Master Du told her about. If the dragon vein was really like what Master Du said, perhaps it would be a chance for her skills to increase as quickly as possible. At that thought, Yi Qingtang no longer had any more hesitation. She immediately brought the little white tiger and silver wolf out of Falling Sky Valley and headed towards the Bliss Forging Workshop. Just as Yi Qingtang was about to leave Falling Sky Valley, the few Blue Cloud Peak disciples whom she beat up that day were complaining tearfully to a tall youth. Eldest senior brother, Admirable Sky Peak went too far in bullying us. That Yi Chen fellow was just accepted as a disciple by perfected Xianshen, and was already this arrogant to casually beat people up in the valley. Eldest senior brother, you must help us. It isn't anything for us to suffer from injustice, but that Yi Chen clearly did not have any regard for us Blue Cloud Peak disciples. Although we were beaten up, he attacked us publicly, and did not spare any face for our Blue Cloud Peak. Those Blue Cloud Peak disciples echoed after each other, and completely left out the incident, where they stole Shinqianius belonging first, wishing they could make Yi Qingtang's evil conduct public. The male standing before them frowned slightly, and a trace of unhappiness could be seen on his good-looking face. Chapter 741 Causing Trouble 1. This person was Li Jingguan, and he was the eldest disciple of Blue Cloud Peak's Peak Master. Among all the Blue Cloud Peak disciples, he was the most skilled. Li Jingwen's eyes swept across those junior brothers. When he saw the bruises on their faces, a sharp look flashed across his eyes. Really a useless bunch. You all actually got beaten up by a fellow who just entered the valley, and still have the face to come and complain. Those disciples trembled after being shouted at by Li Jingwen. Li Jingwen narrowed his eyes and spoke slowly. Since Admirable Sky Peak has such an ill-behaved person, Blue Cloud Peak will not be that easygoing either. You all will go to Admirable Sky Peak with me. Those Blue Cloud Peak disciples' eyes brightened immediately, and they followed Li Jingwen. Blue Cloud Peak and Admirable Sky Peak had not been on good terms for a long time. Moreover, the Blue Cloud Peak's Peak Master fully supported Full Moon Peak's Peak Master as the acting Valley Master when the old Valley Master was recuperating back then. Unexpectedly, the position ultimately landed to Admirable Sky Peak's Peak Master, Perfected Qianqian. Ever since Perfected Qianqian became the Valley Master, Blue Cloud Peak's Peak Master instructed his disciples to draw a clear line between them and Admirable Sky Peak. Although Perfected Qianqian was the current Peak Master, both Blue Cloud Peak and Watercut Peak, with Full Moon Peak as their leader, completely ignored Perfected Zhuanshan's plans, and even turned a deaf ear to Perfected Zhuanshan's orders. In Admirable Sky Peak, Yin Qingluo, Yin Shu, and others were watching the other disciples in the peak cultivate. Ever since their master became the Valley Master, he had much less time to discipline his disciples, and disciples who became apprenticed to him earlier began to be responsible for the other disciples' cultivation. Junior brother Sheng, do you feel better over the past 2 days? Yin Qingluo looked at Sheng Qinyu and asked. Thanks for your concern, senior sister Yin. I'm much better already. Sheng Qianyu's face flushed a little as he nodded. Yin Qingluo chuckled and turned to look at Yin Shu. Senior brother Yin, eldest senior brother is not in the valley today. Senior brother Qian, and the rest left the valley to laze around too. And they pushed these things on us instead. Yin Shu sighed helplessly. He was about to say something, but saw a disciple rushing over anxiously. Senior brother Yin, Li Jingwen of Blue Cloud Peak suddenly came to our Admirable Sky Peak. Yin Shu was slightly stunned. Li Jingwen. Yin Shu and Yin Qingluo exchanged a look immediately, seeing a trace of confusion in each other's eyes. Li Jingwen was the top disciple of Blue Cloud Peak's Peak Master, and had never looked at Admirable Sky Peak's disciples in the eye, much less step into the Admirable Sky Peak. Why did he suddenly run over to Admirable Sky Peak today then? What is Li Jingwen here for? Yin Qingluo asked with a frown. Yin Shu shook his head. Blue Cloud Peak, and our Admirable Sky Peak, have been on bad terms for a long time. Li Jingwen's skills improved greatly over the 2 years. Now that eldest senior brother is not here, we must be more careful. Li Jingwen's skills were not to be trifled with. Among all the Admirable Sky Peak disciples, Gui Han was the only one who could contend with him. Yin Qingluo nodded. As they conversed, Li Jingwen had already walked over with some people behind him. When Yin Qingluo and Yin Shu saw the Blue Cloud Peak disciples following behind Li Jingwen, their brows furrowed automatically. Aren't those disciples the fellows who wanted to snag junior brother Sheng's item? Why are they here as well? Yin Qingluo frowned as an inauspicious feeling rose within her. Chapter 742. Causing Trouble, 2. Yin Shu noticed those Blue Cloud Peak disciples as well. Those people failed to steal Sheng Qianyu's things, and even ended being beaten up by Yi Qingtang that day. Then, Yin Shu already felt that this matter would not end just like that. Now, well, wait and see, Yin Shu said cautiously, and walked towards Li Jingwen with Yin Qingluo. In Admirable Sky Peak, those disciples who were still cultivating could not help but stop whatever they were doing when they saw Li Jingwen and a group of Blue Cloud Peak disciples. Confusion and puzzlement filled their eyes as they looked at those Blue Cloud Peak disciples. Why are the Blue Cloud Peak people here at our Admirable Sky Peak today? Who knows? Isn't that Blue Cloud Peak's top disciple Li Jingwen? Why is he here too? Admirable Sky Peak disciples long knew about the unfriendly relations between the two peaks, and both peaks' disciples were irked with each other when they met in the valley. Furthermore, after their peak master Perfected Qianqian became the acting valley master, the relations between the two peaks worsened. However, they were warned by perfected Qianchen to not enter a strife with Blue Cloud Peak, and they could only endure it silently even if they suffered unjustly. Yet, unexpectedly, Blue Cloud Peak's top disciple actually brought people to their admirable Sky Peak today. In the crowd, Sheng Qianya's heart trembled when he saw Li Jingwen and those familiar figures. On the other side, Yan Shu and Yin Qingluo had already walked to Li Jingwen. Li Jingwen was Blue Cloud Peak's top disciple, and he entered the valley earlier than Yan Shu and Yin Qingluo. Thus, both of them had to address him as senior brother. Senior brother Li. Yan Shu greeted politely. Li Jingwen stood firmly with no intention of bothering with Yan Shu and said coldly, "Where is your admirable Sky Peak's Yi Chen? Call him out." Yan Shu was slightly taken aback. Yi Chen had only entered the valley for a few days, and should not have come into contact with Li Jingwen. Why was Li Jingwen looking for him suddenly? When Yan Shu saw those Blue Cloud Peak disciples behind Li Jingwen, he more or less knew what was going on. Junior brother Yi is not in the valley today. He left the valley this morning. May I know what you're finding him for, senior brother Li? Yan Shu asked while maintaining his composure. Not here. Is he really not here, or does he not dare to come out? Li Jingwen laughed coldly. Junior brother Yi left the valley earlier today. If senior brother Li has something for him, why don't you let us know first? We will help you to relay the message, Yin Qingluo said immediately. I indeed have something to look for him for. Li Jingwen looked at Yin Qingluo, and his lips curled into a sneer. A few days ago, he injured the Blue Cloud Peak disciples for no reason. You must give me an explanation for this. As expected, Yan Shu and Yin Qingluo understood what Li Jingwen was here for immediately. Upon hearing Li Jingwen's words, the other admirable Sky Peak disciples whispered to one another. How long has Yi Chen been in Falling Sky Valley? Why did he beat up the Blue Cloud Peak disciples? Valley Master warned us repeatedly not to dispute with other peaks' disciples, but he already stirred up these troubles when he just entered the valley. The admirable Sky Peak disciples were dissatisfied. Although Yi Qingtang entered the valley for days, she rarely appeared before them. Thus, although they had seen her face, they did not have any contact with her. Chapter 743. Causing Trouble 3. The admirable Sky Peak disciples had only heard that Yi Qingtang used the back door to be apprenticed to the Valley Master, and that her spirit root was not as good as some ordinary disciples. They did not have any ties with Yi Qingtang from the start, and now that they saw Yi Qingtang stirring these troubles, many admirable Sky Peak disciples felt conflicted about that new Valley Master's disciple. Only Sheng Qingyu showed a trace of nervousness and bewilderment. Others did not know why Yi Qingtang offended these Blue Cloud Peak people, but he was more than clear. Yi Qingtang clearly did it for him. However, never would Sheng Qingyu have thought that this matter would actually offend Blue Cloud Peak's top disciple, Li Jingwen. It should be known that Li Jingwen was extremely skilled, and in the entire admirable Sky Peak, only their eldest senior brother, Guihan, could contend against him. No, senior brother Yi. Senior brother Yi. Sheng Qingyu tried to explain to the other disciples beside him, but he did not have any presence in the peak, and no one would hear him with all their attention focused on Li Jingwen. Yan Shu knew Li Jingwen's motive of coming here, but he tried to maintain a calm expression on his face. We will let junior brother Yi know about this. When he returns, he will find you to give you an explanation. Let him know. Li Jingwen arched his brows as he sized up Yan Shu. This is how perfected Qianchen teaches his disciples? Since you admirable Sky Peak does not have any regard for Blue Cloud Peak, there's no need for us to be polite anymore. Once Li Jingwen finished his sentence, his left hand suddenly balled into a fist and crashed into Yan Shu's chest. Yan Shu did not expect Li Jingwen to strike suddenly, and was completely defenseless. Moreover, Li Jingwen's skills were above his, and his fist directly landed on Yan Shu's chest, which sent him flying out. Senior brother Yan. Yin Qingluo did not think that Li Jingwen would be so truculent and unreasonable. When she saw Yan Shu collapse on the ground and struggling to stand up, she instinctively clutched onto the sword at her waist. Junior sister Yin, do not. Yan Shu supported himself up with difficulty and hurriedly stopped Yin Qingluo from attacking. The knuckles of Yin Qingluo's hand which gripped the sword whitened. Your admirable Sky Peak is impertinent in this matter first. Since you all can attack disciples from other peaks in the valley so casually, you all should be able to tolerate these yourselves, right? Li Jingwen laughed coldly. Looking at Yin Qingluo who wanted to unsheath her sword, there was no regret on his face, and he was more arrogant instead. Li Jingwen, don't go too far in bullying others. Yin Qingluo gritted her teeth as she glared at Li Jingwen. It was clearly their Blue Cloud Peak disciples who caused troubles over and over again. But they were playing the blame game now. Go too far in bullying others? I am bullying you all today. So what? A sneer flashed across Li Jingwen's eyes. Anyways, his master had been dissatisfied with perfected Qianxin for a long time, and he could use this opportunity to teach the admirable Sky Peak people a lesson. There was nothing to be scared of. Then, Li Jingwen suddenly attacked Yin Qingluo. Yin Qingluo unsheathed her sword immediately, but Li Jingwen's skills were way above hers. Before she could make a move, Li Jingwen had already kicked Yin Qingluo away. Chapter 744. Causing Trouble 4. A sneer emerged on Li Jingwen's face when he saw the admirable Sky Peak disciples unsheath their swords. In the entire admirable Sky Peak, only the top disciple, Guihan, could defeat him. Now that perfected Qianxin became the acting valley master, and had the intention of training Guihan to be the next peak master of admirable Sky Peak. Even if Guihan was present today, given Guihan's identity, it was inconvenient for him to interfere in the learning exchange between disciples. Great. I'll teach you all a good lesson today. A cold glint flashed across Li Jingwen's eyes, and he immediately drew his sword out before charging towards the admirable Sky Peak disciples. The other Blue Cloud Peak disciples had a proud look when they saw Li Jingwen striking. Li Jingwen's skills were amazing, and were not what these ordinary admirable Sky Peak disciples could contend against. In just the blink of an eye, many disciples were beaten to the ground by Li Jingwen. Yan Shu and Yin Qingluo were about to attack Li Jingwen when they saw the sight. Call eldest senior brother over quickly. Before Yin Qingluo attacked, she immediately grabbed an admirable Sky Peak disciple and said, Guihan was not in the peak today, and Li Jingwen had already attacked. Only by calling eldest senior brother back could they suppress Li Jingwen. After hearing that disciple hurried off to search for Guihan. Yin Qingluo and Yan Shu joined hands and blocked Li Jingwen's move directly, giving the other disciples who were injured by Li Jingwen the chance for a breather. Li Jingwen, are you here today just to stir up trouble? Yin Qingluo berated. Li Jingwen's brows were cocked up slightly as he scoffed. So what if I am? Since Yi Chun from your admirable Sky Peak can injure my Blue Cloud Peak disciples, why can't I beat you all up? As he spoke, Li Jingwen directly launched an attack at Yin Qingluo's face. Careful junior sister Yin. Yan Shu pulled Yin Qingluo over and used his sword to block Li Jingwen's attack. However, a loud clank erupted when they clashed, and a cut was slashed on Yan Shu's fingers from the impact. In just an instant, Yin Qingluo and Yan Shu were locked in combat with Li Jingwen. The other admirable Sky Peak disciples were extremely anxious as they watched. Given their skills, they were simply not Li Jingwen's opponent, and over 10 people were injured by Li Jingwen in a short while just now. Where's Yi Chun? This matter is started by him, but he is nowhere to be found and implicated us to suffer for nothing. The admirable Sky Peak disciples' expressions were extremely ugly when they saw the sight. If Yi Qingtang did not offend the Blue Cloud Peak people, why would they be implicated? Sheng Qianyu was extremely anxious. He was the clearest about the cause of this incident, and was even more anxious when he heard the others complaining about Yi Qingtang. However, no one would listen no matter how much he explained now. When Sheng Qianyu saw that Yin Qingluo and Yan Shu could not defeat Li Jingwen, he gritted his teeth quietly and immediately charged forward. It was already extremely strenuous for Yin Qingluo and Yan Shu to focus on receiving Li Jingwen's moves, and there were many injuries on them by then. Before they could react in time, they suddenly saw Sheng Qianyu rushing in. Junior brother Sheng. Yin Qingluo was alarmed. Sheng Qinyu was already in front of Li Jingwen. Li Jingwen did not even bat Sheng Qinyu an eye, and slashed at Sheng Qinyu with the sword directly. That attack struck Sheng Qianya's shoulder, and a cut that was half a meter deep extended from his shoulder to his body. Chapter 745. Causing Trouble 5. In an instant there was blood spurting out. Scarlet blood scattered down, as if it was raining. Shock was etched all over Sheng Qianya's fair and clear face. The excruciating pain on his shoulder pierced through his nerves. He looked at Li Jingwen wide-eyed as his body crashed on the ground. Li Jingwen looked at Sheng Qinyu coldly, without a slight trace of pity in his eyes. He was just a mere ordinary disciple in a peak, yet he still dared to come forward. If this was not courting death, what was? Yin Qingluo and Yan Shu were appalled when they saw Sheng Qinyu on the ground. You admirable Sky Peak disciples really don't have any manners. An ordinary disciple also wished to come up and court death. Li Jingwen let out a chuckle, contempt evident in his tone. He flicked the remaining blood on his blade away, and pointed his sword at Yin Qingluo and Yan Shu. Which of you wants to be next? You. Yin Qingluo's expression was extremely ugly as she gritted her teeth, wanting to behead the wildly arrogant Li Jingwen. However, junior sister Yin backed down. A deep voice suddenly rang. Yin Qingluo, and the rest turned around to see that Gu Yihan was already behind them from some time ago. Eldest senior brother. A grief and refusal filled Yin Qingluo's eyes as she looked at Gu Yihan, who appeared suddenly. Gu Yihan walked to Li Jingwen's front. When he saw Sheng Qinyu, who collapsed on the ground and was bleeding profusely, his brows furrowed. Bring him to receive treatment. The other admirable Sky Peak disciples hurriedly came forward upon hearing that, wanting to bring Sheng Qinyu away from the scene. Sheng Qinyu was already fuzzy by then as he vaguely saw Gu Yihan's figure. When he was carried past Gu Yihan, he suddenly reached for Gu Yihan's sleeves with his blood-filled hands. Eldest senior brother. This matter has nothing to do with senior brother Yi. He did it for me. Sheng Qianya's hands trembled as he looked at Gu Yihan with a strain. There was a look of seriousness in Gu Yihan's eyes. He slowly pulled Sheng Qianya's hand away and nodded at the disciples supporting Sheng Qinyu. Then Sheng Qinyu, who was losing consciousness, was brought away. There was not a slight trace of fear on Li Jingwen's face as he looked at Gu Yihan, who suddenly appeared, and his lips curled up instead. Gu Yihan looked at Li Jingwen coldly with narrowed eyes. At this instant, the admirable Sky Peak disciples were extremely expectant as they looked at Gu Yihan's back view. It was as though they had a pillar at this very moment, and they dearly hoped that their eldest senior brother could return them justice. However, Gu Yihan took a deep breath, forcefully suppressing the anger in him, and looked at Li Jingwen. Junior brotherly, are you done causing trouble? Li Jingwen shrugged and said, Senior brother Gu, what you said does not make sense. How is it that I caused trouble today? If Yi Chun from your admirable Sky Peak did not attack first that day, why would I come to admirable Sky Peak to seek justice for my junior brothers? When Li Jingwen said that, the Blue Cloud Peak disciples, who came with him, immediately put on a weak front. When the admirable Sky Peak disciples saw those Blue Cloud Peak disciples feigning frailness, they almost could not stop themselves from running forward and skinning them alive. Chapter 746. Causing Trouble 6. Weren't they very arrogant and flaunting their prowess when they were behind Li Jingwen just now? Yet they were acting pitiful now. Eldest senior brother. For this matter, Yin Qingluo wanted to say something to Gu Yihan when she saw how shameless Li Jingwen and the other Blue Cloud Peak disciples were. However, Gu Yihan raised his hand and stopped Yin Qingluo from finishing her sentence. Junior brother Li, Yi Chen is not in the valley today. When he returns, I will interrogate him myself. If you don't have anything else today, you can head back first, junior brother Li, Gu Yihan said coldly. As he finished speaking, his hand that hung beside him seemed to touch the sword handle at his waist casually. Li Jingwen sharply noticed Gu Yihan's action, and his eyes flickered. If Gu Yihan really attacked, he was probably not Gu Yihan's opponent. Li Jingwen pondered for a moment and finally said, Since that is what you want, I'll give you face today. However, my junior brothers sustained rather heavy injuries. Yi Chen attacked first, and has to give our Blue Cloud Peak an explanation no matter what. In addition, he has to compensate for the loss of my junior brothers. I'll relay the message, Gui Han said in a deep tone. Li Jingwen smiled as he reached his objective. Subsequently, he turned around and led those Blue Cloud Peak disciples away, not forgetting to leave a sentence before leaving. Senior brother Gu, your admirable Sky Peak disciples are merely like that. Haha. Yin Qingluo clenched her teeth tightly as she watched Li Jingwen and the rest leave. Eldest senior brother, why did you let them go just like that? They injured so many admirable Sky Peak disciples. Do we let them off just like that? Yin Qingluo could no longer hold herself back. Gu Yihan looked at the exasperated Yin Qingluo, who burst into a fury, but he did not say anything. Then, he looked at those injured admirable Sky Peak disciples, and a constrained expression was increasingly evident in his eyes. Do you think this only involves the Blue Cloud Peak? Gu Yihan asked. Yin Qingluo was slightly stunned. Yen Shu sighed helplessly and patted Yin Qingluo's shoulder. Junior sister Yin, eldest senior brother has his own reasons for doing this. He paused for a moment and continued. Blue Cloud Peak and Watercut Peak have always been on friendly terms with Full Moon Peak, which is the most powerful peak in Falling Sky Valley. When Master became the acting Valley Master back then, it attracted the dissatisfaction of the peak masters of these three peaks. Full Moon Peak's peak master has been trying to find a chance to launch an attack on Master, but as of now, it was to no avail. Master did not want us to stir troubles, because he did not want to ruin the harmony in Falling Sky Valley. If this matter is blown up, Watercut Peak and Full Moon Peak would also participate in this, much less Blue Cloud Peak. By then Falling Sky Valley would be chaotic. Eldest senior brother also had no choice but to do this. Yen Shu's tone was rather helpless. Taking the big picture into consideration, they admirable Sky Peak disciples could only give in to others again and again. Yin Qingluo pursed her lips. Although she understood the reason for this injustice stifled her. Do we have to keep conniving them just like that? Yin Qingluo threw her sword on the ground furiously and left. Although she knew that this was a stopgap measure, how could she swallow this grievance down? Yen Shu felt extremely helpless as he watched Yin Qingluo leave. However, he adjusted his emotions very quickly and told Gu Yihan, eldest senior brother, you can do whatever you need to do first. I can settle the things here. Chapter 747, Get the Hell Out. 1. Gu Yihan nodded his head silently. The admirable Sky Peak disciples were originally boiling with anger because of Li Jingwen, but now, they felt powerless after hearing what Yin Shu said. Li Jingwen is simply relying on the fact that Watercut Peak and Full Moon Peak are backing Blue Cloud Peak. They are merely emboldened by the support. Valley Master has just taken up the post and has his own worries. In the end, it's all Yi Chen's fault. Although other peaks stirred trouble occasionally, it didn't blow up so big like this. Who said it isn't? It was already an exception for him to be apprenticed to the Valley Master. He has only entered the valley for a while, yet he has already caused such huge trouble for our admirable Sky Peak, and implicated so many fellow disciples. It would be better for such an ill-mannered person to be kicked out of the valley as soon as possible. The disciples did not dare to make any dissent about the Valley Master, and thus vented their unhappiness on Yi Qingtang. Those who were already displeased with Yi Qingtang using other means to be apprenticed to perfected Xianchen were even more irritated with her now. Stop talking already. Hurry up and treat your injuries if you have to. For the others, continue on with your cultivation, Yen Shu said with a headache. He also sustained plenty of injuries earlier on, and was also very vexed currently. Yi Qingtang went to the Bliss Forging workshop to talk with Master Du about the dragon vein, but he was not present today. Then, she asked Du Sheng to relay the message to Master Du, and returned to Falling Sky Valley. However, the moment she stepped into Admirable Sky Peak, she sensed that there was something off with the atmosphere. While the peak's disciples were not friendly to her previously, they still forced a greeting on account that she was perfected Zuanshan's disciple. Yet currently, as Yi Qingtang walked in Admirable Sky Peak, she saw that all the disciples did not utter a word to her, and that they looked at her with intense repulsion and resentment. What happened? She only went out for half a day. Yet why do the admirable Sky Peak disciples look at her, as though they wanted to devour her? When she arrived at the cultivation field, she smelled a faint smell of blood. The instant some injured disciples saw her, their eyes shot her a sharp look. Junior brother Yi, you're back. Yan Shu, who was guiding the disciples in their cultivation, saw that Yi Qingtang returned and immediately walked to her. Senior brother Yan, what happened to you? Yi Qingtang's eyes were filled with shock when she saw Yan Shu, who had bruises on his face and a bandaged arm. What happened to Yan Shu? Why is he injured all over? Yan Shu's expression stiffened a little. Taking a deep breath, he said, Li Jingwen from the Blue Cloud Peak came here just now. Li Jingwen. Yi Qingtang arched a brow. She knew of Li Jingwen from her previous life. He was the top disciple of Blue Cloud Peak's Peak Master, and had a frivolous and arrogant nature. A few years later, Li Jingwen's skills advanced by leaps and bounds, to the point that he even showed signs of surpassing Gui Han. That's right. He came to Admirable Sky Peak to find you for you to give him an explanation. Yan Shu nodded. What explanation should I give him? Yi Qingtang chuckled. Perhaps it was this chuckle that ignited the Admirable Sky Peak disciple's displeasure. A disciple with bruises on his face immediately stopped cultivating and darted to Yi Qingtang's front. Why are you still acting innocent here? If you didn't injure those Blue Cloud Peak disciples that day, why would Li Jingwen come today? Chapter 748. Get the hell out. 2. Yi Qingtang was blanking out. That disciple continued venting. Do you know how many fellow disciples suffered just because you attacked them that day? Li Jingwen came knocking on our door today, but could not find you. So he beat up so many of fellow disciples. Even senior sister Yin and senior brother Yin were injured by him. Yet you still don't talk anymore. Yan Shu stopped that disciple with a low voice. However, Yi Qingtang heard each and every word. In just a moment, the smile on Yi Qingtang's face disappeared without a trace. Senior brother Yan, what happened exactly? Yi Qingtang asked Yan Shu. Yan Shu hesitated for a moment. Knowing that Yi Qingtang would know about this matter sooner or later, he no longer hid it, and told Yi Qingtang everything about Li Jingwen coming to cause trouble. We are still okay, but junior brother Sheng's injuries are more severe, and he still hasn't regained consciousness. Coldness flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes, and she narrowed her eyes. All of a sudden, she turned around and walked away. An Admirable Sky Peak disciple scorned. He knows that he caused trouble now and wants to hide now. Stupefied, Yan Shu said immediately, Junior brother Yi, where are you going? Yi Qingtang paused in her tracks, but did not look back. Didn't Li Jingwen want me to give him an explanation? I'm going to give him an explanation. Then, Yi Qingtang immediately headed towards Blue Cloud Peak. Yan Shu felt a little complicated upon hearing that. If Yi Qingtang could swallow her pride and apologize to Li Jingwen, perhaps this matter could be over. It was just that, when he thought of Li Jingwen's actions today, Yan Shu's heart could not be at ease. Even if Yi Qingtang apologized, Li Jingwen would probably not accept it so easily. Although Yan Shu did not like this new junior brother, he could not leave him alone either. He directly ordered other disciples to cultivate by themselves, and he wanted to chase after Yi Qingtang. Senior brother Yan, why do you still care about him? Isn't this trouble that he caused for us big enough? A disciple said resentfully. Yan Shu did not reply and directly chased after Yi Qingtang. The silver wolf beside Yi Qingtang clearly sensed a trace of murderous air from Yi Qingtang. The little white tiger snickered. The Admirable Sky Peak disciples are extremely foolish. Do they really think that everything will subside just by exercising forbearance? In my opinion, this falling sky valley is also as messy as a pot of porridge. By making concessions like that perfected Xianshan is merely inflating the morale of other peaks. Yi Qingtang did not say anything and walked straight to Blue Cloud Peak. On the Blue Cloud Peak, a group of Blue Cloud Peak disciples were gathered together in between the breaks of cultivation to chat. You all didn't see how impressive our eldest senior brother was at Admirable Sky Peak. Those admirable Sky Peak disciples didn't even dare to let out a fart in front of eldest senior brother, and were extremely fearful like cowards. That's right. With just their dilettantish skills, how are they eldest senior brother's opponent? Yin Qingluo and Yin Shu joined forces, but could not even counterattack when they fought eldest senior brother. So much for being perfected Xuanshan's disciples. Admirable Sky Peak's Guihan came. But what's the use? Even when he saw his fellow disciples being beaten up, didn't he still have to be polite and courteous? That's unlike our eldest senior brother, who directly charged there, after knowing that we suffered. That's called impressive. Chapter 749. Get the Hell Out 3. The disciples who followed Li Jingwen to Admirable Sky Peak today recounted Li Jingwen's impressive manner to their fellow disciples, who listened with great interest. Luckily, that Yi Chen is not in the valley today. Otherwise, if eldest senior brother shot a look at him, he would probably pee in his pants from fear. Haha, it really is like what eldest senior brother said. Admirable Sky Peak disciples are merely like that. Just as the Blue Cloud Peak disciples were gathered together, a figure suddenly arrived at Blue Cloud Peak. Those disciples who were still chatting immediately stopped talking when they saw the elegant figure in front of them. Yi Chen, a Blue Cloud Peak disciple who was beaten up by Yi Qingtang, before recognized Yi Qingtang with a look. Then, the Blue Cloud Peak disciples looked at Yi Qingtang with daggers in their eyes. Yi Chen, what are you doing here at Blue Cloud Peak? Why? Have you thought it through? Do you know that you're in the wrong already? So you came here to apologize? Haha, you're sensible. If you still don't know what's good for you, our eldest senior brother will take good care of you. The Blue Cloud Peak disciples were extremely arrogant. Looking at Yi Qingtang, who came to them herself, they immediately thought that she was frightened out of her wits by their eldest senior brother's actions, and that she rushed over frantically to apologize. Yi Qingtang looked at the Blue Cloud Peak disciples coldly, and a slight sneer seemed to play on her lips. Where's Li Jingwen? Fellow, you wish to meet our eldest senior brother? Do you have the qualifications too? Since you're here to apologize, you should have an apologetic attitude. Where do you think this is? This is Blue Cloud Peak. We don't care whose disciple you are. In our Blue Cloud Peak, who do you think you are? How dare you call our eldest senior brother's name? A few Blue Cloud Peak disciples remarked cynically. Hearing the Blue Cloud Peak disciples' scorns from afar, Yin Shu picked up his pace and hurried to Yi Qingtang's side. Junior brother Yi. He originally intended for Yi Qingtang to apologize to Li Jingwen and those Blue Cloud Peak disciples symbolically, but he did not expect Yi Qingtang to go to Blue Cloud Peak personally. The scornful comments of those Blue Cloud Peak disciples were especially jarring, and he only hoped that Yi Qingtang could put an end to this matter quickly. This matter would be over if she just endured it for a moment. However, Yi Qingtang swept a cold glance at those incessant Blue Cloud Peak disciples, and a glint passed her eyes. Tell Li Jingwen to get the hell out. The Blue Cloud Peak disciples were stunned to hear what Yi Qingtang said. Even Yin Shu's face froze for a moment as well. What did she say? Tell Li Jingwen to get the hell out. Is she not here to apologize? Yin Shu sensed that there seemed to be something wrong. But before he could say anything, the Blue Cloud Peak disciples exploded in anger. What a great Yi Chen! How dare you speak so wildly in our Blue Cloud Peak? Your skin must be really itching. Why? Your admirable Sky Peak disciples are not beaten up enough by our eldest senior brother? You're here to ask for a beating? They had seen people who did not want their lives anymore, but not one who was so hurried to court death. This Yi Chen was actually so bold to provoke them on their Blue Cloud Peak turf. Then, the Blue Cloud Peak disciples' expression darkened immediately, and they immediately charged at Yi Qingtang with swords wielded in their hands. Chapter 750 Beaten Up 1. Seeing that there was something wrong with the situation, Yin Shu instinctively pulled Yi Qingtang back. He originally thought that she was here to apologize and did not think that this fellow would be so hot-tempered. She was clearly here to start a fight. However, before Yin Shu could pull Yi Qingtang, a snicker suddenly sounded. Everyone stop. When the Blue Cloud Peak disciples heard that, they stopped whatever they were doing immediately and looked in the direction of the sound. Li Jingwen was actually standing there since some time ago. With hands behind him, his lips curled into a scoff as he looked straight at Yi Qingtang, who was standing not far away. I was wondering which reckless person dared to come to the Blue Cloud Peak to cause a ruckus. Li Jingwen scoffed coldly. Yan Shu's heart sank immediately when he saw Li Jingwen. He originally wanted to bring Yi Qingtang away quickly. He did not think that he was still one step late, as Li Jingwen was already here. Yan Shu knew that there was trouble when he saw Li Jingwen. When Li Jingwen was an admirable sky peak, his attacks were already ruthless. Now they were on Blue Cloud Peak's turf, and Yi Qingtang was impudent. He was afraid that senior brother Li. Yan Shu suppressed his worry and hurriedly greeted before Yi Qingtang said anything. Li Jingwen cast a nonchalant look at Yan Shu. When he caught sight of the bruise on Yan Shu's face, he smiled faintly. What is it? Junior brother Yan. Was our interdisciple learning not enough? So you brought people here to continue seeking torture? Yan Shu's expression darkened. Based on skills, he was indeed not Li Jingwen's opponent, but no one would feel good to be publicly ridiculed by Li Jingwen. Yan Shu took a deep breath, straining himself to calm down the anger in him. Senior brother Li, you've misunderstood. Yi Chen just returned, and knew that what he did previously was wrong. Thus, he is here to give you an explanation. He is Yi Chen. Li Jingwen raised a brow as he swept a look at the handsome young man behind Yan Shu. A trace of mockery flashed across his eyes as he said, Explanation? No matter how I see, he doesn't seem to be here to give me an explanation? A few Blue Cloud Peak disciples immediately gathered to Li Jingwen's side. Eldest senior brother, this Yi Chen is not here to apologize, and is clearly here to cause trouble. He still shouted for you to get the hell out here. For me to get the hell out? Li Jingwen's expression darkened immediately, and he shot a sharp look straight at Yi Qingtang. Yan Shu hurriedly explained, Junior brother Yi is young. If he offended you, please don't take offense, senior brother Li. Junior brother Yan, I know that this Yi Chen is the disciple who your master just accepted. Since he has become a Falling Sky Valley disciple, he is no longer a kid. Does he not know how to say a single word? Do you have to take the trouble on his behalf? If he is this useless, what did perfected Xianxin accept him for? Li Jingwen chuckled and said right after, Oh, it was a slip of the tongue. This fellow could be apprenticed to perfected Xianxin not because of his mouth or his skills, but because he offered a gift that satisfied perfected Xianxin. Yan Shu's expression turned ugly immediately. He could tolerate anything, but not any slander towards perfected Xianxin. Senior brother Li. Li Jingwen suddenly raised a hand and cut Yan Shu's sentence. Yi Chen, is it? You injured several Blue Cloud Peak disciples previously. If you publicly kowtow to them, admit your mistakes, and compensate them with some elixirs, this matter can be considered to be over. If you're unwilling, as a senior brother, I will not mind to teach you, since Admirable Sky Peak does not know how to teach their disciples. Chapter 751. Beaten up, too. When Li Jingwen said that, the Blue Cloud Peak disciples had a complacent expression on their faces as they looked at Yi Qingtang and Yan Shu in disdain. Yan Shu never expected Li Jingwen to be so overboard. He was about to say something, but Yi Qingtang suddenly walked forward and shut Yan Shu up. Yi Qingtang's lips curled up, and she scoffed coldly while looking at the Li Jingwen with head held high. Are you all done? Who said I'm here today to apologize? Li Jingwen, if you want me to apologize, win against me first. When Yi Qingtang said that, all the Blue Cloud Peak disciples were completely dumbfounded. In the next second, everyone looked at the reckless Yi Qingtang unbelievably. What is she saying? Is she crazy? With her dilettantish skills, she still dares to yell at eldest senior brother? Li Jingwen was delighted. Yi Chen, you do talk big. Since you really don't know how to appreciate favors, there's no need for me to be polite with you anymore. Since you wish for us to learn from each other, I'll play with you then. Then, the Blue Cloud Peak disciples beside Li Jingwen retreated immediately and grinned as they looked at Yi Qingtang, who courted death. Yan Shu was completely dumbfounded. He did not think that Yi Qingtang would be so bold. Li Jingwen was the #1 disciple in Blue Cloud Peak. There were only a few people out of the tens of thousands of disciples in Falling Sky Valley who could win against Li Jingwen. Yan Shu wanted to persuade Yi Qingtang out of it, but she did not even intend on giving him a chance to speak. She immediately took a step forward and announced, "Make your move." Li Jingwen looked at Yi Qingtang with a raised brow. He had seen people who wanted to die, but not one who wanted to die so bad. She actually let him make the first move. "Eldest senior brother, don't go easy on her. This fellow clearly has it coming." The Blue Cloud Peak disciples hooted, eager to see Yi Qingtang being beaten up by Li Jingwen. Li Jingwen did not spare any talk with Yi Qingtang, and drew his sword out immediately. Suddenly, an overbearing sword aura was injected on his blade in just a moment. Yan Shu's heart rose up to his throat. Looking at the light blue sword aura on Li Jingwen's blade, Yan Shu was alarmed by the impending trouble. Li Jingwen actually executed the Cold Winter Sword aura, which the Blue Cloud Peak's Peak Master created at his first move. The Cold Winter Sword aura was Blue Cloud Peak's Peak Master exquisite skill, which had an extremely shocking lethality. When injured by the sword aura, the cut would immediately freeze, and the bitter poison in the sword aura would subsequently enter the person's body. Li Jingwen had already mastered 70% of this Cold Winter Sword aura, and using it now was evident that he was not going to spare any mercy. "Junior brother Yi, be careful," Yan Shu shrieked in alarm. The moment he spoke, Li Jingwen had already turned into a bolt of blue light, as though he became one with the Cold Winter Sword aura, and he dashed towards Yi Qingtang. The faint blue ray had a bone-piercing cold air, and the temperature in the air dropped. Yi Qingtang stood rooted to the ground, and a murderous expression flashed across her eyes as she looked at Li Jingwen, who rushed to her. "Is that fellow dumbstruck from the shock?" The Blue Cloud Peak disciples could not help but snicker when they saw that Yi Qingtang did not move an inch. As long as Yi Qingtang was grazed by the Cold Winter Sword aura, she would definitely be injured by the bitter poison. This was simply a battle without any suspense. Chapter 752. Beaten Up 3. In the blink of an eye, the sword in Li Jingwen's hand was pierced right towards Yi Qingtang's chest. It was at this instant when everyone felt that Yi Qingtang would die without a doubt. However, when the tip of Li Jingwen's blade was half a finger away from Yi Qingtang's chest, it suddenly stopped. Li Jingwen looked in shock at Yi Qingtang, who lifted a hand up since God knows when. That fair palm held on the sharp blade steadily, and directly stopped that powerful charging stance. An expression of shock flashed across Li Jingwen's eyes. He could not even see clearly when Yi Qingtang raised her hand just now. Cold Winter Sword aura? Yi Qingtang watched the blue-colored sword aura slowly seep past her hand, which held onto the sword. The next second after Yi Qingtang finished her sentence, a golden flame suddenly started burning in her hands. In just a moment, that striking golden flame slowly spread to Li Jingwen's sword, and the faint blue-colored sword aura was swallowed by that flame almost instantly. The sword, which initially had a slight coldness, was, however, burnt by that golden flame. The heat directly transmitted to Li Jingwen's hand that wielded the sword, and the burning heat caused Li Jingwen's expression to change. Yi Qingtang looked up slowly at Li Jingwen, and the corners of her lips curled into a devilish smile. The approaching cold winter still can't beat the heat of a burning flame. What? Li Jingwen was taken aback. Yi Qingtang's smile deepened. Suddenly, she blew the golden flame up by multiple times, and it was as though the golden flame wanted to engulf everything in the surroundings. The blade she gripped was instantly burnt red by that golden flame. Under the high heat, Li Jingwen's right hand was burnt, and he violently released the sword handle. In the next second, the sword that Li Jingwen dropped down burnt until it melted in Yi Qingtang's hands. Drops of red molten iron dripped near Yi Qingtang's feet and entered the soil, where smoke emerged. How can it be? The excited Blue Cloud Peak disciples were dumbfounded when they saw that the sword was completely burnt. The sword in Li Jingwen's hand was personally bestowed to him by Blue Cloud Peak's Peak Master, and was made with a superior grade meteoric iron. It could be said to be unbreakable and extremely durable. Yet now, that sword was burnt into a pool of molten iron, Astonishment was written in Li Jingwen's eyes as he looked down at his right hand, which held the sword just now. Although he did release his grip in time, his palm was still injured by that golden flame, and pain from the burn spread out in his palm. Blue Cloud Peak's top disciple is merely like that. Now it's my turn to make a move. Yi Qingtang looked up, and the smile on her face was increasingly sinister. Li Jingwen was alarmed. For some reason, an intense uneasiness snowballed in his heart wildly. Before Li Jingwen returned to his senses, Yi Qingtang had already disappeared before everyone without a trace. Li Jingwen was alarmed and instinctively stirred up all the primordial qi in his body. However, all of this was a futile resist. Yi Qingtang's figure suddenly appeared behind Li Jingwen like a ghost. Chapter 753. Beaten Up 4. Before Li Jingwen sensed her, Yi Qingtang suddenly lifted her hand, grabbed Li Jingwen by the collar, and hurled him away instantly. All Li Jingwen felt was a huge force at the back of his neck, and he simply had no room to resist. Yi Qingtang raised her leg and landed a powerful kick on Li Jingwen's lower back. In the next second, Li Jingwen was sent flying several meters away, before hitting a tree trunk and crashing on the ground with a thud. All of this happened within a breath's time. Everyone in Blue Cloud Peak was stunned. The Blue Cloud Peak disciples widened their eyes in disbelief as they watched their eldest senior brother, who was unparalleled in their hearts, being beaten up without being able to retaliate. How? How can it be? Eldest senior brother? Why is he? The Blue Cloud Peak disciples, who were still truculent and cocky, initially could not laugh anymore now as they looked at Li Jingwen, who was sprawled on the ground, with their jaws dropped. Even Yan Shu was utterly dumbfounded. He had sparred with Li Jingwen before as well, and naturally knew how frightening Li Jingwen's skills were. However, currently, Li Jingwen could only be beaten up in Yi Qingtang's hands. Li Jingwen scrambled up. Yi Qingtang's light-looking kick almost broke his spine, and it was as if his entire body was falling apart. Looking at the suspecting gazes of his junior brothers in the surroundings, Li Jingwen's face darkened to an extreme. To think that his face was thrown in front of everyone, because of Yi Qingtang despite his position at Blue Cloud Peak. Yi-chun, you have the guts. Li Jingwen clenched his fists suddenly, and a soaring aura suddenly spread around him. A powerful torrent-like spirit energy surged towards Li Jingwen wildly, and his skin seemed to be covered in a layer of blue light in an instant. Flying Dragon Inner Qi. Yan Shu was alarmed to see the blue ray surrounding Li Jingwen. The Flying Dragon Inner Qi was one of Falling Sky Valley's many profound techniques, with an extremely powerful attack ability. It could raise one's potential within a short period of time, and was truly one of the most powerful killing moves. Yan Shu never expected Li Jingwen to have acquired the Flying Dragon Inner Qi. It was no wonder Li Jingwen's skills improved immensely over this period of time, since he cultivated this powerful cultivation technique in secret. Not only can the Flying Dragon Inner Qi increase one's strength and speed, but it could even allow one's defense to double. Presently, Li Jingwen was forced to unleash his Flying Dragon Inner Qi, making it evident that he would battle it out with Yi Qingtang until she was killed. Yi Qingtang looked at Li Jingwen, who could no longer restrain his anger, and the ball of blue light indifferently. The smile on her face never faded a bit. I want you dead, Li Jingwen shouted, and suddenly turned into a blinding blue light as he charged towards Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang looked down slightly, sweeping away the murderous intent in her eyes. A wild gust of wind lifted her long hair up, and Li Jingwen's aura inched closer rapidly. Right at the crucial moment, Yi Qingtang suddenly looked up, and she seemed to carelessly raise her hand that was dangling beside her. In the next second, however, her hand clutched on Li Jingwen's fist that he had put all his force in. Don't disgrace yourself with your smattering cultivation technique. Chapter 754. Beaten Up 5. Li Jingwen opened his eyes wide in disbelief. He channeled all his Flying Dragon Inner Qi into his fist, and it was held easily by Yi Qingtang. No matter how much strength he put in, his fists could not get closer anymore. Li Jingwen, that's all you have? Yi Qingtang lifted her brows slightly. She smiled as she stared at Li Jingwen, whose face was pale. Yi Qingtang's hand that was grabbing Li Jingwen's fist suddenly rotated, and she snatched his wrist to pull him towards herself. Li Jingwen was pulled over. His strength was totally incomparable to Yi Qingtang's. The moment half of Li Jingwen's body was pulled over, Yi Qingtang raised the other hand and smashed onto his face. Li Jingwen flew out under the force of the punch. The originally handsome face was totally ruined under Yi Qingtang's punch. His skin was torn and bones broken. A few teeth that were stained with blood, and a pool of blood spurted out from his mouth. Li Jingwen collapsed on the ground. His eyes were rolled up, and blood filled his mouth. He appeared to be extremely confounded with a few missing teeth. "You're really too weak." Yi Qingtang's head tilted as she looked at Li Jingwen, who collapsed on the ground and was unable to get up. Her sight then landed on the other Blue Cloud Peak disciples who were shocked. The previously arrogant Blue Cloud Peak disciples were scared by Yi Qingtang's one glance and stepped back. Their faces were all pale. At that moment, Yi Qingtang was like a monster in their eyes. The strongest disciple in Blue Cloud Peak was beaten by Yi Qingtang. How would they dare to be arrogant anymore? Who else needs my apology? Yi Qingtang raised a brow. No one of the Blue Cloud Peak dared to make any sound, as they were scared that they would face the same consequences as Li Jingwen. Furthermore, their abilities were lower than Li Jingwen. They were much weaker than him. Listen up. If anyone who's still not satisfied, come and find me. If I know anyone that still bullies my senior and junior brothers of the Admirable Sky Peak, no matter what's the excuse, I'll beat you to death, Yi Qingtang said coldly. The Blue Cloud Peak disciples were all frightened. No one dared to say anything. Yi Qingtang's intention was reached, and she was not willing to stay at the Blue Cloud Peak anymore. She turned and said towards Yan Shu, who was still in shock, "Senior brother Yan, things are settled here. Let's head back." She turned and left after finishing her words. Yan Shu was shocked for a while before he regained his consciousness. He turned to look at Li Jingwen instinctively and felt numb. Yan Shu's mind was complicated as he stared at Yi Qingtang's back view. Junior brother Yi was more terrifying than he imagined. Yan Shu was slightly worried in his heart. Junior brother Yi was powerful, but how would this incident come to a close now that he beat Li Jingwen? Yan Shu shook his head and dispersed all his thoughts. He then followed up. After Yi Qingtang and Yan Shu left, the Blue Cloud Peak disciples then realized the situation and sent the unconscious Li Jingwen to the doctor. Chapter 755. Finding Troubles on the Door, 1. After leaving the Blue Cloud Peak, Yi Qingtang headed back to her room, and Yan Shu returned to the Admirable Sky Peak. Many disciples were curious about whether Yi Qingtang apologized. However, Yan Shu did not have the mood to talk about that at all. Yi Qingtang went to apologize? She almost beat Li Jingwen to death. Yan Shu felt that his anger was relieved when Yi Qingtang beat Li Jingwen up, but he was very worried. He then wanted to tell the perfected Xianqian about that. However, before Yan Shu reported to the perfected Xianqian, the Blue Cloud Peak Master came over. The Admirable Sky Peak disciples were shocked when they saw the Blue Cloud Peak Master appear at the Admirable Sky Peak. The chief disciple of the Blue Cloud Peak, Li Jingwen, just came to find trouble in the morning. How come the Peak Master of the Blue Cloud Peak came over personally as well in the afternoon? How serious was the trouble that Yi Qingtang made? Did she not apologize to the Blue Cloud Peak? How come the Peak Master of the Blue Cloud Peak was here as well? Yan Shu felt his head was going to explode when he saw the Peak Master of the Blue Cloud Peak. Perfected Xianqian came over as he heard the news. He saw the Blue Cloud Peak Master's face was clouded. The Peak Master was standing in the crowd of Admirable Sky Peak disciples, along with a few Blue Cloud Peak disciples. Valley Master. The Blue Cloud Peak Master was above 50 years old with gray temples. His level of cultivation made him appear mighty. When he saw the perfected Xianqian, he just addressed him without any emotion. There was no trace of respect at all. Perfected Xianqian did not know what had happened, and he felt curious. When he was still the Admirable Sky Peak Master, he was not in good terms with the Blue Cloud Peak Master. It was rare for them to meet after he became the Valley Master. How come today he would come to the admirable Sky Peak personally? May I know what requires you to come here personally today? Perfected Xianxin asked. The Blue Cloud Peak Master sneered. I came not for other things but your new disciple Valley Master. You're talking about Yi Chen? Perfected Xianxin was slightly stunned. He took Yi Qingtang in by exception, but he did not have time to guide him on his cultivation, as he was occupied for the past few days. He planned to take some time to guide him. Yet, unexpectedly, how come Yi Qingtang was connected to the Blue Cloud Peak Master? That's him. The Blue Cloud Peak Master scoffed. What did he do? Perfected Xuanqin's face was calm. What did he do? Why don't you ask himself? The Blue Cloud Peak Master's face was more unpleasant as he mentioned Yi Qingtang. If his disciples did not report to him today, he would not even know that Perfected Xuanqin's new disciple dared to bully his disciples. Perfected Xianxin was confused. Yan Shu was anxious, but did not say anything due to the presence of the Blue Cloud Peak Master. The Blue Cloud Peak Master took a glimpse at his disciples and said, Tell the Valley Master, what did Yi Chen do? The Blue Cloud Peak disciples bowed to Perfected Xianxin and said, Valley Master, Yi Chen injured a few of our disciples a few days ago. He came to the Blue Cloud Peak with Yan Shu just now and tried to provoke conflicts. Our senior brother tried to ask him to stop, but he did not listen, and injured our senior brother. Chapter 756 Finding Troubles on the Door, 2. When the Blue Cloud Peak disciple finished his words, all the Admirable Sky Peak disciples who were present were stunned. They only knew about the first half of the content he said. However, Yi Qingtang beat Li Jingwen? When did that happen? The Admirable Sky Peak disciples were all shocked, but they did not dare to say anything. They could only pay attention to their conversations. Yi Chen beat and injured Li Jingwen? Perfected Xianxin was slightly shocked. He was aware of Li Jingwen's ability, since he was the chief disciple of Blue Cloud Peak. However, Yi Qingtang had only entered the valley for a few days. How could she injure Li Jingwen? The Blue Cloud Peak Master sneered. How could it be fake? Valley Master, your disciple is very cruel. Li Jingwen is still in a coma, and has multiple injuries. If you do not believe me, you can check it out yourself. Perfected Xianxin frowned, and looked towards Yan Shu. Yan Shu, is that true? Yan Shu's name was called, and he had to reply. Yes, but, Valley Master, you disciple confirmed that as well. What else do you have to say? The Blue Cloud Peak Master did not even give Yan Shu any time to explain. Perfected Xuanqin's face clouded and said towards Yan Shu, Ask Yi Chen to come here now. He then looked at the Blue Cloud Peak Master and said, Yi Chen is my disciple. If he really injured his senior brother, I'll punish him heavily. I know that you are always fair, Valley Master. I hope you will settle this incident impartially as well, the Blue Cloud Peak Master said. Of course. Perfected Xuanqin's face was expressionless. Everyone then waited for Yi Qingtang's arrival. The Admirable Sky Peak disciples all had a complex state of mind. They thought that Yi Qingtang was a timid person that only knew how to cause trouble. However, she had the nerve to go to the Blue Cloud Peak and beat Li Jingwen. Though they all knew Perfected Xuanqin's concern, they all were enraged by Li Jingwen's behaviors today. Now, after knowing that Yi Qingtang beat Li Jingwen heavily, everyone felt relieved, especially those who were injured by Li Jingwen. Soon, Yan Shu led Yi Qingtang over. Yi Qingtang walked over calmly under everyone's gaze. When she raised her eyes, she saw the Blue Cloud Peak Master, whose face was clouded, and Perfected Xianxin, whose face was slightly darkened. Yan Shu told her that the Blue Cloud Peak Master was here to find trouble with her on their way here. She was clear of the situation now. Master. Yi Qingtang kept her thoughts and bowed to Perfected Xianxin. Perfected Xianxin stared at Yi Qingtang, who had become his disciple for only a while now, and nodded. Yi Chen, have you been to the Blue Cloud Peak today? He asked. Though Yi Qingtang became his disciple for a while only, he was still his own disciple. He would not stand at the side. If he really made a mistake, he would punish him heavily. However, If the Blue Cloud Peak Master fabricated the truth, he would not allow that to happen. Yes. Yi Qingtang replied without any hesitation. Did you fight against Li Jingwen and injure him? Perfected Xianxin felt that based on Yi Qingtang's age, his ability should not be above Li Jingwen's. That's true. Yi Qingtang nodded. Perfected Zuanshan's sight was more serious now. The Blue Cloud Peak Master heard that Yi Qingtang confessed and scoffed immediately. Valley Master, things are clear now. Please settle it fairly and punish Yi Chun to relieve our anger. Chapter 757. So it's my fault? One. Perfected Xianxin sighed. When he was about to say something, Yi Qingtang suddenly spoke. I have no idea what mistake I made that need to be punished by Master Peak Master? The Blue Cloud Peak Master did not expect that Yi Qingtang would suddenly change her words after confessing the truth. What mistake did you make? Isn't it a mistake that you injured your senior brother? Do you think that you can do anything you want when your master is the Valley Master now? He scoffed. The Blue Cloud Peak Master seemed to be speaking to Yi Qingtang, but he was hinting at Perfected Xianxin. Yi Qingtang looked at how sarcastic was the Blue Cloud Peak Master, and was very confused. I can't take the blame of hurting my senior brother. I was just practicing with senior brother Li. When did I purposely hurt him? I just entered the valley, and I'm not aware of all the rules here. Is competition among disciples forbidden here? Of course it's allowed here. However, were you really practicing? Li Jingwen is still in a coma now. How dare you say it's a practice when you beat him heavily? The Blue Cloud Peak Master heavily. Isn't that how it's supposed to be? It's the same when senior brother Li came to the Admirable Sky Peak today with others, and competed with my senior and junior brothers. My junior brother Sheng almost lost his life under senior brother Li's sword. He is still in a coma now, Yi Qingtang said. I thought that senior brother Li is an old disciple here, and the chief disciple of the Blue Cloud Peak. Of course, he should know the rules here. He did not have any concerns when he competed with our disciples. And I thought so as well. Yi Qingtang continued. What did you say? When did Li Jingwen come to the Admirable Sky Peak? The Blue Cloud Peak Master was stunned. A trace of a cunning smile flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes. She knew that those from the Blue Cloud Peak did not have the nerve to tell the truth to their Peak Master. I was not around when senior brother Li was here. However, most of the Admirable Sky Peak disciples were here, and they can prove that. If you do not believe me, you can visit the doctor now. My junior brother Sheng is still lying there now. The Blue Cloud Peak Master scanned through the Blue Cloud Peak disciples he brought when he saw that Yi Qingtang's sight was so determined. He immediately knew that they were hiding something when he saw their faces. The Blue Cloud Peak Master's face clouded, and he was speechless at the moment. Li Jingwen injured the Admirable Sky Peak disciple first. If he blamed Yi Qingtang for the same thing, then Li Jingwen was the one who made the mistake first. Furthermore, when I went over to look for senior brother Li, he said in front of everyone that he was practicing with me. Senior brother Yen and all the Blue Cloud Peak disciples who were present could prove that. Yi Qingtang added. The Blue Cloud Peak disciples' faces were unpleasant. Li Jingwen really did say that before. The Blue Cloud Peak Master's expression turned ugly. I did not expect that senior brother Li would be so weak. I thought that as the chief disciple of the Blue Cloud Peak, he must be very powerful, so I did not hold back. However, I didn't know that he was so weak. If I knew that earlier, I would not use my full strength. Yi Qingtang stared at the Blue Cloud Peak Master with an innocent expression. The Blue Cloud Peak Master almost fainted upon hearing her words. His chief disciple was weak? Too weak for her to compete with. Chapter 758. So it's my fault? 2. The Admirable Sky Peak disciples at the side finally understood what was going on. They tried to control their laughter upon hearing Yi Qingtang's words. Li Jingwen was too weak? He was the strongest disciple of the Blue Cloud Peak. Everyone felt that Yi Qingtang did the right thing when they recalled how Li Jingwen showed off at the Admirable Sky Peak earlier. However, they did not dare to reveal their thoughts on their faces. Perfected Zuanshan's sight landed on Yi Qingtang, as he noticed how unpleasant the Blue Cloud Peak Master's expression was. His sight was complex. The Blue Cloud Peak Master was speechless. What could he say? Was he going to say that he came here to stand up for his disciple, as he was too weak and beaten during practice? The Blue Cloud Peak Master's aggressiveness was all replaced by depression now. He knew what Yi Qingtang was thinking about. However, the meaning changed in her words. This she was totally unreasonable. The Blue Cloud Peak Master frowned heavily. The fight between Yi Qingtang and Li Jingwen had become a practice now. Even if Li Jingwen was heavily injured as the Peak Master, he should not interfere with disciples' practice. Such practices were common in the Falling Sky Valley. No one would drag the elders and the wardens to ask for compensation if he lost. The Blue Cloud Peak Master could not do anything to Yi Qingtang then. Perfected Xianxin stared at the Blue Cloud Peak Master's changing face and understood the situation. The Blue Cloud Peak Master should not have anything to say. Mind the limits even if it's a practice in the future, Perfected Xianxin said slowly. I understand. I will be cautious of the limits. If my opponent is too weak, I will not use my full strength in order to maintain peace, Yi Qingtang said. The Blue Cloud Peak Master's face clouded upon hearing Perfected Xianxin and Yi Qingtang's conversations. Opponent is too weak. Is she talking about Li Jingwen? The Blue Cloud Peak Master took a deep breath and suppressed his unpleasantness. If he showed his anger now, he would be making a big fuss over a small issue. Valley Master, I still have things going on in the Blue Cloud Peak. I shall leave first, the Blue Cloud Peak Master said with a dark face. Okay. Perfected Xianxin nodded slightly. The Blue Cloud Peak Master led his disciples, whose faces were unpleasant, away. Perfected Xianxin did not say anything since the incident was ended. He glanced at Yi Qingtang with thoughts and left. After Perfected Xianxin left, the Admirable Sky Peak disciples all surrounded Yi Qingtang and asked, Senior Brother Yi, you really beat Li Jingwen? Many Admirable Sky Peak disciples were triggered by Yi Qingtang, offending the Blue Cloud Peak disciples, and causing Li Jingwen to find troubles here. However, Yi Qingtang did not hide and beat him up instead. Many disciples who had resentment all felt relieved now. Their aversion towards the new Valley Master's disciple was slightly reduced. Yi Qingtang did not know where to start, as she was surrounded by Admirable Sky Peak disciples and questioned by them. Yan Shu sighed slowly as Yi Qingtang was slightly accepted by the rest. Chapter 759. So it's my fault? 3. Don't stand here. Go back to your cultivation, and don't be lazy. Yan Shu saved Yi Qingtang from the predicament. The disciples could only return to their positions for cultivation, but they were still bothered by the incident. Yi Qingtang greeted Yan Shu and left. Yan Shu's sight was complex as he stared at Yi Qingtang's fading back. Guihan and the rest all returned to the Admirable Sky Peak at night. They heard about the incident that happened today once they were back. The Blue Cloud Peak is way too extreme. How dare they find trouble here? Qianze's face clouded once he heard about that. At least the incident is contained. Though junior brother Yi was slightly impetuous, he managed to end it off. Yan Shu sighed softly. He felt that the new disciple that master took in was different from other disciples. His temper was totally different from others. Even Qianze and Yi Ningxi, who were not disciplined, also did not cause any trouble under Perfected Zuanshan's warning. But Yi Qingtang, he caused such a big incident when he just entered the valley. It was lucky that the level of the incident did not increase. If not, there would be much trouble waiting for them. Impetuous? I don't think so. Though junior brother Yi is young, he settled things neatly. Yi Ningxi took a glance at Yan Shu and said, Yan Shu, you are too cautious. Master asked us to behave, but not to the extent that we all become cowards. How could we let Li Jingwen go when he beat our disciples? I would definitely fight him with my life if I were present. Fight with your life. You should think about this when you are stronger than him. Qianze smiled and said. Once he finished his words, Yi Ningxi took a cold glimpse at him. Yin Qingluo did not say anything all the time, but she took a heavy breath and said, Junior brother Yes' ability is stronger than we think. And I don't think that his behavior was wrong. Since Master became the Valley Master, disciples of other peaks constantly provoked us. We tried to tolerate and back off. However, what's the result? They're just getting more presumptuous. In Qingluo's words let everyone immerse in thoughts. They were still fine as they were perfected Xuanqian's disciples. However, the normal disciples of the Admirable Sky Peak suffered from injustice. Even though they had to care for the big picture, no one would feel good with such injustice. Everything now is for the harmony of Falling Sky Valley. Master must have his thoughts, Yin Shu said. Gui Han frowned slightly and did not say anything. Ji Yishuan, on the other hand, was interested in his new junior brother. Yin Shu, you were present when junior brother Yi fought with Li Jingwen. And since we won, who do you think is stronger? Our senior brother or him? Qianzai asked as he tried to stir up some trouble. Yin Shu was stunned. Junior brother Yi. Gui Han glanced at Qianzai. Qianzai shrugged his shoulders and said, I just asked. They discussed for a while, but came to no conclusion. However, as a new disciple who just entered the valley, it was really beyond their expectations that Yi Qingtang could cause such troubles. But it was just the beginning. Yi Qingtang returned to the Falling Sky Valley to prevent the tragedy in her previous life from happening again. Chapter 760 Just You Wait. 1. Perfected Xianqin was a kind and extremely magnanimous person. Otherwise, Yi Qingtang would not have the chance to be apprenticed to him despite not having a spirit root. To perfected Xianqin, Yi Qingtang was filled with respect and gratitude for his help in her previous life. Exactly because of that, all the more she must not let things slide down to the chaos that Falling Sky Valley fell into, and the murder of perfected Xianqin in her previous life. Forbearance would never be able to compel true conviction. Since Admirable Sky Peak disciples had not realized this point, she would use her own actions to let them understand this logic. The Li Jingwen matter had passed for a few days, and Admirable Sky Peak disciples settled down. As Yi Qingtang cultivated with the spirit energy in Falling Sky Valley, she thought about what to do next. She would also occasionally head to Admirable Sky Peak and take a look at the place where the disciples cultivated. The Admirable Sky Peak disciples' attitude towards Yi Qingtang seemed to have changed a little. On the other side on Blue Cloud Peak, the bruised Li Jingwen was sitting in an arbor with a gloomy expression. His fists that rested on the stone table were tightly clenched as a sinister look filled his eyes. Senior brother Li, a Blue Cloud Peak disciple, looked at the unhappy Li Jingwen nervously. Ever since Li Jingwen was beaten up by Yi Qingtang a few days ago, he had been unconscious for days and had only woken up yesterday. Although there was no fatal injury, the punch that Yi Qingtang threw on his face completely ruined his handsome face. While body injuries could be healed easily, a broken nose bone would still look a little crooked even if it was regrown. Did that Yichen really tell Master that? Li Jingwen said coldly as he looked at the junior brother beside him. Yes, that day, Master went to Admirable Sky Peak to punish Yi Chen. But who knew that Yi Chen would be so cunning? That disciple nodded his head and told Li Jingwen about the incident where the Blue Cloud Peak Master went to Admirable Sky Peak. What a man, Yi Chen! Li Jingwen gritted his teeth with narrowed eyes. Falling Sky Valley had its own rules. Interdisciple learning was completely allowed. Even if he lost his life by accident, it was also within Falling Sky Valley's rules, much less sustaining severe injuries. This kind of matter was not what a peak master could interfere in. Even elders and wardens would not step forward to say anything. After all, it was merely interdisciple learning. Li Jingwen snickered and stood up. Senior brother Li, Master wants you to recuperate in this period of time. What are you planning to do now? That disciple asked Li Jingwen. Li Jingwen took a deep breath and said, Why are you making such a big fuss? It's just that the weather is pretty good, and I wish to make a trip to Watercut Peak. That disciple was slightly stunned. Watercut Peak? Watercut Peak was ranked as the top 3 among the 12 peaks in Falling Sky Valley, and was equally matched to Admirable Sky Peak, in terms of reputation and power back then. Moreover, Watercut Peak's Peak Master was on close terms with Blue Cloud Peak's Peak Master. and both of them initially supported Falling Sky Valley's Peak Master to be the acting Valley Master of Falling Sky Valley back then. After Perfected Xianxin became the Valley Master, Blue Cloud Peak and Water Cut Peak directly ignored the new Valley Master's presence and only followed Full Moon Peak's Peak Master. Go to my room and retrieve my Blue Sea Connected Sky painting, Li Jingwen said with narrowed eyes. Chapter 761 Just You Wait, 2. Li Jingwen immediately headed to find Water Cut Peak's top disciple, Lu Mo, after obtaining the Blue Sea Connected Sky painting. Lu Mo was tall and good-looking. If Li Jingwen was said to be Falling Sky Valley's superior disciple, then Lu Mo was one of Falling Sky Valley's top disciples. Although Li Jingwen was about the same age as Lu Mo, there was quite a gap in their skills, and even the proud Li Jingwen had to be courteous to Lu Mo's senior brother Lu. Li Jingwen immediately went forward to Lu Mo with a smile. Junior brother Li? Seeing that Li Jingwen came to find him so suddenly, Lu Mo's eyes had a trace of confusion. Why are you looking for me today, junior brother Li? Li Jingwen smiled. There's nothing much. I've long heard that senior brother Lu likes books and paintings. When I was out a few months ago, I happened to obtain a Blue Sea Connected Sky painting. I don't have anything on today, so I'm here to bring it to you. Blue Sea Connected Sky painting? Lu Mo was a little stunned. The Blue Sea Connected Sky painting was created by a famous painter. It was said that the Nine Knights Dynasty imperial family kept it, but unexpectedly, it was in Li Jingwen's hands now. It was not an exaggeration to describe this painting as priceless. When Li Jingwen saw Lu Mo's reaction, he immediately handed him the Blue Sky Connected Sky painting that he had prepared a long time ago. Since the peak masters of both peaks were on good terms, Li Jingwen and Lu Mo were also friends. Lu Mo unrolled the Blue Sky Connected Sky painting, and his eyes brightened immediately. How can I accept this item? Lu Mo asked. Li Jingwen smiled. I don't have much knowledge about books and paintings. Since you like it, I'll just offer it to you. Lu Mo hesitated for a moment. Since he could not decline it politely, he accepted it without saying anything. The two of them sat down at an arbor nearby. It was then that Lu Mo noticed that Li Jingwen's originally handsome face seemed a little twisted now. There were patches of blue-black on his face, and a part of his straight nose sunk for some reason, sticking out like a sore thumb. Junior brother Li, what happened to your face? Lu Mo asked curiously. Fastest update at VIP novel. Calm. A glint flashed across Li Jingwen's eyes, but he put on an expression as though he had come across a helpless issue. He sighed gloomily. Excuse me, senior brother Lu. Please don't laugh at me. The injuries on my face are caused by an Admirable Sky Peak disciple. What? An Admirable Sky Peak disciple? You sparred with Guihan? Lu Mo was taken aback. He was aware of Li Jingwen's skills, and in the entire Admirable Sky Peak, only Guihan could have a fight with him. Li Jingwen shook his head with a bitter laugh. It's not Guihan, but a disciple whom Perfected Xianxin just accepted, Yi Chen. Lu Mo frowned slightly. Is he that fellow who got in through the back door? Lu Mo had heard a thing or two about Perfected Xianxin accepting a disciple as an exception. Yes. Li Jingwen nodded. He injured you. Lu Mo's brows were furrowed even more deeply. Li Jingwen said, Yi Chen is too arrogant. He just entered the valley and relied on the fact that his master is the Valley Master to beat up my Blue Cloud Peak's junior brothers. I went to demand an explanation, but unexpectedly, I did not see him. I originally planned to let things be, but who would have thought that Yi Chen is actually so arrogant? He rushed to the Blue Cloud Peak and made a wild talk. I persuaded him nicely, but who knew he would attack me? Li Jingwen continued. Chapter 762 Just You Wait 3. There's actually such a thing? A trace of unhappiness could be seen on Lu Mo's face. Is Perfected Xianxin not putting him in check? Lu Mo asked. You also know how he entered the valley. How would Perfected Xianxin exercise authority over him? I'm afraid that he dared to do this because Perfected Xianxin signaled him to beat up other peak's disciples. Li Jingwen's tone was increasingly helpless. My master originally wanted to seek justice for me, but that Yi Chun had a sharp tongue and said that it was interdisciple learning. Thus, my master could not intervene. Li Jingwen explained. It's all because I was not his opponent. I allowed Admirable Sky Peak to have an even more domineering influence for nothing. Li Jingwen varnished the truth and narrated with grievances. Lu Mo's expression darkened. When the Valley Master was heavily injured back then, they had no choice but to appoint an acting Valley Master. In the entire Falling Sky Valley, the strongest peak was Full Moon Peak. Moreover, the Full Moon Peak's Peak Master was very close to his master. If the Full Moon Peak's Peak Master assumed the position of Valley Master, there would not be a single objection in Water Cut Peak. However, no one would have thought. The acting Valley Master position actually landed in the hands of Admirable Sky Peak's Peak Master, Perfected Qianchen. It should be known that Admirable Sky Peak and Water Cut Peak were equally matched in skills, and Perfected Zuanshan's skills was about the same as his master's. Water Cut Peak naturally refused to accept Perfected Qianchen as the Valley Master. However, the old Valley Master had made up his mind already, and the other Peak Masters could only agree. Yet they only agreed and did not accept it. Lu Mo all the more refused to accept this decision as final. If Perfected Qianchen could be the acting Valley Master, why couldn't his master? Their skills were clearly on par with each other. Perhaps, the Admirable Sky Peak people also knew that there was something wrong with Perfected Qianchen being the Valley Master. Thus, they were extremely cautious and always yielded to others over this period of time. Yet unexpectedly, Perfected Zuanshan's new disciple was actually this vicious. Junior brother Li, since that Yi Chun likes to learn from others so much, I will give him a chance to. A glint passed Lu Mo's eyes. Perfected Qianchen snatched the Valley Master position, and Lu Mo would definitely not let his disciple act so impudently in the valley. Li Jingwen was delighted the moment he heard it. He had sensed that Lu Mo disliked Admirable Sky Peak, and thus approached him today to request for his help. Lu Mo's skills were equally matched to Admirable Sky Peak's top disciple, Guihan, and even had a sign of defeating Guihan. If Lu Mo struck, that Yi Qingtang would definitely not have a chance of winning. It would be best if you can beat that Yi Chun up, Li Jingwen said with a smile. Didn't Yi Qingtang say that it was interdisciple learning? He will let her properly taste the consequences of her own actions then. Junior brotherly, if you're free, make a trip to Admirable Sky Peak with me, Lu Mo said. Sure. Li Jingwen would obviously not reject, as he was eager to personally witness Yi Qingtang being beaten up to death by Lu Mo. The two of them immediately rose and wanted to make a move. Before they left, a Water Cut Peak disciple came over hurriedly and told Lu Mo, Senior Brother Lu, Senior Brother Xianyuan of Full Moon Peak, sent someone to relay a message to you that he invited you to have a drink together tonight. Upon hearing Senior Brother Xianyuan of Full Moon Peak, Li Jingwen's heart could not help but tremble. The Senior Brother Xianyuan, whom this disciple mentioned, was Falling Sky Valley's #1 talent, Xianyuan Lai. Senior Brother Lu, since Senior Brother Xianyuan is looking for you, why don't we go to Admirable Sky Peak tomorrow instead? Even if he was eager to seek revenge, Li Jingwen was very cautious after hearing Xianyuan Lai's name. Chapter 763 Interdisciples Learning 1. Xianyuan Lai was a ranked disciple in Falling Sky Valley. He was Full Moon Peak's top disciple, and the grandson of Full Moon Peak's Peak Master. Xianyuan Lai was extremely gifted, and was personally taught by Full Moon Peak's Peak Master since young. Although he was so young, his skills were already amazing. Given Xianyuan Lai's skills, even someone at an elder level in Falling Sky Valley might not be his opponent. While Blue Cloud Peak leaned towards Full Moon Peak, Li Jingwen did not have a slight chance of interacting with Xianyuan Lai, and only met him a few times without any chance to speak. It could be said that Xianyuan Lai was the representative of the most powerful disciple in Falling Sky Valley, and the icon who countless disciples wanted to emulate after. Lu Mo shook his head. There's no need. Since Senior Brother Xianyuan asked me out for a drink at night, it does not interfere with me going to beat Yi Chun up now. That's good then. Li Jingwen smiled. Help me reply to Senior Brother Xianyuan, that he'll definitely be punctual for our appointment, Luemo said. That disciple nodded and hurriedly carried out the orders. You're indeed on close terms with Senior Brother Xianyuan. I've never seen Senior Brother Xianyuan interact with other disciples in the valley, but he extended an invitation to you today. Li Jingwen grinned. Luemo had an indifferent expression on his face, but a trace of a smile emerged in his eyes. Given Xianyuan Li's skills, he was no longer on the same level as ordinary disciples, and would naturally not bother with the disciples in the valley. Senior Brother Xianyuan is prideful, but he has the capital to be so, unlike someone who thinks that he can do whatever he wants in Falling Sky Valley, just because he became the Valley Master's disciples. Li Jingwen pointed out. Luemo nodded slightly. The two of them did not say anything, and headed straight to Admirable Sky Peak. On Admirable Sky Peak, Yi Qingtang made a rare trip to the disciples' cultivation field, but was stopped by a lady before she walked far. I've heard that my new little junior brother is very pretty and charming. After meeting him today, the rumors are indeed true. Yi Ningxi's lips curled up as she sized up Yi Qingtang without concealing. Yin Qingluo, who came with Yi Ningxi, could not help but have a headache when she saw Yi Ningxi's behavior. Junior brother Yi, this is Yi Ningxi, senior sister Yi. She is not in the valley usually, which is why you only got to meet her today. Yin Qingluo explained hurriedly, fearful that the young Yi Qingtang would be frightened by Yi Ningxi. Yin Qingluo originally did not like Yi Qingtang's method of becoming apprenticed to their master. But after Yi Qingtang beat Li Jingwen up, her opinion of this new junior brother changed evidently. As Yi Qingtang looked at Yi Ningxi, who had an enchanting smile on her face, a trace of reminiscence emerged in her eyes. This senior sister Yi Ningxi was someone she was very familiar with in her previous life. She might look flippant, but once she attacked, it was deadly vicious. Greetings, senior sister Yi, Yi Qingtang said calmly. Yi Ningxi chuckled as she naturally placed her fair hands on Yi Qingtang's shoulder. Your face is really endearing. With a look, it's actually even more beautiful than a lattice face. Yi Qingtang was speechless. Senior sister Yi. Yin Qingluo's headache worsened, and she immediately stepped forward to pull Yi Ningxi's dishonest hand away. Little Qingqing, you did wrong. When I asked you how junior brother you looked like the other time, you hid it from me. Could it be that you took a fancy on him, and that you're scared that I would snatch him away? Yi Ningxi raised her brow. Yin Qingluo was just a step away from covering Yi Ningxi's mouth with her hand. Chapter 764 Interdisciples Learning 2. Reminiscence filled Yi Qingtang's eyes as she watched Yi Ningxi and Yin Qingluo. In her previous life, her senior brothers and sisters had always joked around like that. Everyone was so happy, until perfected Xianchen was forced to hand over the Valley Master position, and Falling Sky Valley encountered a calamity. Yi Qingtang clearly remembered that in that bloody battle, the familiar figures around her fell one by one. The cheerful talk and laughter turned into cries of despair, which lingered in her memories. In this life, she would definitely not let tragedy repeat itself. Regardless of her master or senior brothers and sisters, she would never let anyone injure them. Yi Ningxi and Yin Qingluo joked for a while before realizing that Yi Qingtang had not said anything from the start. Senior sister Yi, you frightened junior brother Yi. Yin Qingluo blamed. Yi Ningxi put on an innocent look. Right at that moment, a nervous-looking Admirable Sky Peak disciple rushed over hurriedly. Senior sister Yi, senior sister Yin, senior brother Yi. Watercut Peaks Luemo and Blue Cloud Peaks Li Jingwen are here. With that, there was a subtle change in the expressions of Yi Ningxi and Yin Qingluo, who were initially still playing around. Is Li Jingwen done? Why did he bring Luemo here today? Yin Qingluo's expression darkened immediately. Previously, Li Jingwen came to Admirable Sky Peak to flaunt his impressive might. He was just punished by Yi Qingtang some time ago, and she thought that he would be more obedient. Who would have thought? He just regained consciousness but was back here again. If it was only Li Jingwen, Yin Qingluo would naturally not be scared of anything, since he had already suffered defeat at Yi Qingtang's hands. But Luemo, the smile on Yi Ningxi's face faded away unconsciously, and her bewitching eyes narrowed. Li Jingwen brought Lu Mo to Admirable Sky Peak today. I'm afraid he is here with ill intentions. Afterward, Yi Ningxi's gaze landed on Yi Qingtang immediately. Junior brother Yi, if you've nothing on, go back to your room first. Yi Ningxi was not a fool. Li Jingwen was a sinister and ruthless person who bore grudges. He harbored hatred towards Yi Qingtang when he was defeated by her that day, and he probably came here with Lu Mo today to seek revenge. Lu Mo's skills were comparable with those of their eldest senior brother, Gui Han. Although Yi Qingtang triumphed over Li Jingwen completely, she might not be Lu Mo's opponent. In the entire Falling Sky Valley, there were not more than 3 disciples who could win against Lu Mo. If Yi Qingtang and Lu Mo sparred, Yi Qingtang would probably suffer a huge loss. However, before Yi Ningxi could signal Yi Qingtang to leave, Li Jingwen and Lu Mo walked straight to them. Li Jingwen caught sight of Yi Qingtang at a glance, and an evil look flashed across his eyes. Lu Mo walked over without any emotions, and he passed a nonchalant glance at Yi Qingtang and the rest. His eyes did not stop on Yi Qingtang for long, and he instead looked at Yi Ningxi's graceful body frivolously for a long time. Yi Qingtang's expression darkened when she saw Lu Mo. The moment she saw Lu Mo sizing up Yi Ningxi openly, coldness flashed across her eyes. This Lu Mo was exactly the same as he was in her previous life. Chapter 765 Interdisciples Learning 3. Lu Mo's skills were considered to tower above those of other disciples in Falling Sky Valley, and he had a detached and proud nature. But in reality, Lu Mo was a beast in human skin. While he had the appearance of a decent human, he was a complete lecher in reality. He made use of his title as Watercut Peak's top disciple to disrespect many female disciples in Falling Sky Valley, and they could only swallow their anger silently given Lu Mo's position and skills. In her previous life, Lu Mo once tried to make a move on Yi Qingtang, but her senior brothers and sisters happened to see it and joined forces against Lu Mo. Although Yi Qingtang was able to escape, her senior brothers and sisters were severely injured because of it. Yi Qingtang looked at Lu Mo coldly. She had not made time to find him, but he sent himself here instead. Yi Chen, we meet again. Li Jingwen looked straight at Yi Qingtang maliciously, as he exploited Lu Mo's might to intimidate others. Yi Qingtang swept a cold glance at Li Jingwen's twisted face without any emotions on her face. Yi Chen, don't you like interdisciple learning? Senior brother Lu happened to be free today. How about you all learn from each other? Li Jingwen laughed. Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi frowned immediately. A group of Admirable Sky Peak disciples came over asking for answers, and caution emerged in their eyes when they saw Li Jingwen and Lu Mo, who came to cause trouble. Li Jingwen, when did my junior brother Yi say that he wanted to have an interdisciple learning session with senior brother Lu? Yi Ningxi snickered coldly. Li Jingwen said with a smile, Junior sister Yi, why are you so agitated? In Falling Sky Valley, it's a normal thing for disciples to learn from each other. Senior brother Lu rarely has time today, and is willing to give you pointers. This is junior brother Yes' blessing. In the entire Falling Sky Valley, how many disciples can match senior brother Liu's skills? If junior brother Yi can gain a few pointers from senior brother Lu, it would naturally be a blessing he cultivated from his previous life. Li Jingwen spoke frankly and freely, implying that Yi Qingtang stood a huge bargain from learning with Lu Mo. Lu Mo looked scornfully at Yi Qingtang, who was being blocked behind by Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi. Junior brother Yi, we are just having an interdisciple learning session. Could it be that you don't even have the guts to do so? If you don't have the guts, I will not force you either. However, since I've come to Admirable Sky Peak, I cannot return empty-handed. If you don't agree to this match, you can invite your eldest senior brother, Gui Han, out. Lu Mo replied. In the entire Admirable Sky Peak, the only disciple he could bother with was Gui Han. Moreover, after Perfected Xianxin became the Valley Master, Perfected Xianxin had the intention of nurturing Gui Han as the next Peak Master of Admirable Sky Peak. If Lu Mo defeated Gui Han, all the disciples in Admirable Sky Peak would be trampled by him unquestionably. Lu Mo's purpose for coming today was to beat Yi Qingtang up and assert his dominance. Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi had a serious expression, as they were clearly of Lu Mo's intention. In terms of skills, Lu Mo was slightly stronger than Gui Han. However, Gui Han obeyed his master's orders strictly, and even if he came today, he would probably not use all his force in consideration of the big picture. Yet, when facing Lu Mo, Gui Han only had the option of suffering a tragic defeat, as long as he restrained his strength. Chapter 766 Shameless 2 Shameless 1. As everyone hesitated, Yi Qingtang suddenly walked forward. Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi were shocked. Junior brother Yi. Yi Qingtang looked at the arrogant Lu Mo and said, "Since senior brother Lu wishes to grant me some teachings, I will not refuse." All the admirable Sky Peak disciples were stunned to hear Yi Qingtang's words. Is Yi Qingtang crazy? She really dared to accept the challenge? Lu Mo was not Li Jingwen, and their skills were simply not on the same level. Even if Yi Qingtang won against Li Jingwen, she was definitely not Lu Mo's opponent. The admirable Sky Peak disciples had begun accepting Yi Qingtang then. They viewed her as their fellow disciple, and thus they could not help but be a little anxious when they saw the situation. Junior brother Yi, do not act on impulse, Yin Qingluo hurriedly said. Li Jingwen looked at Yin Qingluo with a raised brow. Junior sister Yin, if you're so worried of junior brother Yi, why don't you accept the challenge on his behalf? Yin Qingluo glared at him coldly. If she really had the ability, the first person she would beat up would be this Li Jingwen, who committed outrages. Impatience flashed across Lu Mo's eyes, and he said, Junior sister Yin, why are you so worried? Rest assured, I know that junior brother Yi just entered the valley not long ago. Since I will have an inter-disciple learning session with him, I'll naturally not bully him. Then, Lu Mo suddenly removed the sword that was hung on his waist, and tossed it to Li Jingwen beside him. I'll give him some advantages in this spar. I will not use any weapons, Lu Mo declared with a generous expression. Yin Qingluo's brows were furrowed slightly. When Yi Qingtang saw Lu Mo's attitude, a smile suddenly passed her eyes. Senior brother Lu, you're Watercut Peak's top disciple, while I'm just a new disciple who entered the valley only a few days ago. I'm afraid it's not appropriate if you only give me the weapon advantage? The disciples who were initially worried of Yi Qingtang were stunned when they heard her. Similarly, Lu Mo never thought that Yi Qingtang would say that. On second thought, he smiled and replied, Since that's the case, how about this? I'll only use one hand. Li Jingwen wanted to say something, but Lu Mo hinted at him with his eyes to remain silent. Yi Qingtang flashed a smile, but shook her head again. Since you have the intention to give me an advantage, how about not using both hands? Everyone present was stupefied immediately. Yi Chen, you're really shameless. Senior brother Lu has already agreed to not use any weapons, and even one hand. But you're actually demanding for more? Do you want senior brother Lu to just stand there for you to hit? Li Jingwen laughed angrily. He had seen a shameless person before, but not such a shameless one. Even the admirable Sky Peak disciples were shocked by Yi Qingtang's request. Senior brother Yi, his demands were a little overboard, right? I was still pretty worried about senior brother Yi previously. I didn't think that he would make such a request. When I heard that Yi Chen fought Li Jingwen the other time, I felt that he was pretty admirable. I never thought that. It can't be that he was also this shameless when he fought Li Jingwen that time, right? The admirable Sky Peak disciples were initially worried for Yi Qingtang, and felt that Yi Qingtang was extremely courageous for daring to agree to the challenge. Yet unexpectedly, Yi Qingtang would actually make such an unthinkable request. Forget that Lu Mo was not using any weapons, but she actually forbade Lu Mo from using his hands too? What inter-disciples learning was there then? While admirable Sky Peak disciples were very dissatisfied with Lu Mo for coming to cause trouble, they still had a backbone. Chapter 767 Shameless 2 Shameless 2. No one would have expected Yi Qingtang to make such an absurd request. Forbidding the usage of both hands in the spar basically meant that Lu Mo only could use his legs. Yi Qingtang could still use her hands and a sword. Didn't it mean that Lu Mo could only use his legs to run? Even Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi had a look of disbelief on their faces. This junior brother Yi, is he? Yin Qingluo frowned slightly as she looked at Yi Qingtang with a complicated expression. Apart from Yin Shu, no one else was present when Yi Qingtang fought Li Jingwen that day. Thus, everyone was unaware of the details. However, Yin Qingluo's opinion of Yi Qingtang had changed because of this incident, and she thought that this little junior brother had a backbone. Yet unexpectedly, Yi Qingtang acted this way today. Yi Ningxi cleared her throat awkwardly and said, "Perhaps junior brother Yi is just joking around." Lu Mo did not think that Yi Qingtang would actually make such a ridiculous request either, and was dumbfounded. He spoke in a deep voice right after. "Junior brother Yi, why don't you just say that I should remain standing at a spot for you to hit? Yi-Chen, don't be so shameless. Senior brother Lu has already agreed to not use one hand, but you still don't know how to be content." Li Jingwen berated from aside. Yi Qingtang looked at Lu Mo indifferently and said, "Senior brother Lu, are you unwilling?" Lu Mo scoffed. Who would agree to such an absurd request for a spar between Falling Sky Valley's disciples? Oh, Yi Qingtang swept Lu Mo a look. What if someone agrees? I'll want to see who has the guts to. If there's really such a person, I, Lu Mo, will really admire that person. Lu Mo laughed. Yi Qingtang smiled faintly. Yi-Chen actually gained senior brother Liu's admiration. Lu Mo and everyone else were stupefied when they heard what Yi Qingtang said. "Yi-Chen, don't flatter yourself. Who admires you?" Li Jingwen said coldly. Yi Qingtang shot a look at Li Jingwen. "Didn't you say it yourself just now, senior brother Lu?" Lu Mo said it. What did Lu Mo say? Confusion was etched on Li Jingwen's face. Yi Qingtang looked at Lu Mo. Senior brother Lu said that if anyone does not use any weapons or their hands in the spar, he will admire his guts. What has this got to do with you? Lu Mo frowned. Yi Qingtang smiled. In my friendly spar with you today, I'll not use any weapons or my hands. What? Everyone present was stupefied. What is senior brother Yi saying? He's actually not using his hands to spar with Lu Mo? Am I deaf or is senior brother Yi crazy? What a joke. Given Lu Mo's skills, senior brother Yi is clearly courting death. Admirable Sky Peak disciples went berserk. They originally thought that Yi Qingtang made this absurd request to dodge this spar. Yet unexpectedly, the development of events was so unpredictable. What does junior brother Yi want to do? Yin Qingluo was completely dumbfounded. While Yi Ningxi was intelligent, she could not understand what Yi Qingtang was thinking this time. In sparring a disciple with Lu Mo's skills, even Xin Yuanlai is not so arrogant to spar without using both hands. Junior brother Yi, could he be crazy? Li Jingwen really burst out laughing. Yi-Chen really did not fear death. Who exactly gave her the courage to make such big talk in front of Lu Mo? Chapter 768 Shameless, Too Shameless 3. Yi Qingtang looked at Lu Mo indifferently. Why? Senior brother Lu, do you still think that it's not enough? How about I'll only use one leg? The corners of Lu Mo's lips twitched a little. Everyone increasingly thought that Yi Qingtang was insane. However, another thought struck their minds. Perhaps, Yi Qingtang knew that she was not Lu Mo's opponent, so she made all this up. Thus, even if she was defeated, she had an excuse. Unconsciously, the admirable Sky Peak disciples' acceptance towards Yi Qingtang frittered away bit by bit. Junior brother Yi, since you have the guts, it's inconvenient for me to say anything more. Lu Mo scoffed. Please, Yi Qingtang said. Then, Lu Mo was suddenly enveloped in a layer of faint light, and an overbearing aura gathered around him rapidly. In the next second, Lu Mo's figure disappeared from everyone's sight. How fast? Yin Qingluo could not help but be alarmed when she felt Lu Mo's remaining aura in the air. Lu Mo's skills are ranked near the top in the entire Falling Sky Valley, and they are not what ordinary disciples like us could contend against. Yi Ningxi continued speaking with a slight frown. I don't know if junior brother Yi will be able to make it through this time. Yin Qingluo's brows were furrowed slightly. Smiles were written on Li Jingwen's face. He was more than eager to see Yi Qingtang being thrashed on the ground by Lu Mo. Lu Mo's skills are indeed great. I'm just standing in the area nearby, but the oppression is almost suffocating me already. Senior brother Yi can't be stunned, can he? Why is he standing at the same spot and not moving? There were clamors of comments among the admirable Sky Peak disciples. In their eyes, Yi Qingtang was standing rooted to the ground without any emotions on his exquisite face. In the next second, Lu Mo's concealed aura erupted out of a sudden, and everyone could only see a black shadow shuttling to Yi Qingtang's side so quickly that one could not identify it. Yi Ningxi and Yin Qingluo were on tenterhooks at that instant. With their abilities, they could vaguely see that Lu Mo was ramming a palm towards Yi Qingtang's chest like a bolt of lightning. However, just before Lu Mo's palm landed, Yi Qingtang's eyes suddenly looked downward. In the next second, Yi Qingtang lifted her right leg at the speed of lightning. Lu Mo simply did not manage to see what exactly happened, and only felt a huge force crashing towards his abdomen abruptly. In an instant, Lu Mo was hurled out by that huge force until his body knocked onto a boulder several meters away. Ow! The moment he landed on the ground, Lu Mo spat a mouthful of blood, while countless fine cracks appeared on the boulder behind him. What happened? Every single person at the scene was taken aback, as they watched Lu Mo spitting out blood with jaws hung wide open. What exactly happened just now? Why did Lu Mo? The admirable Sky Peak disciples were utterly dumbfounded. Their eyes were clearly locked on the battle earlier on. But why was Lu Mo, who had an imposing stance, flung out and coughing blood in just the blink of an eye? Click here, Joy. Chapter 769 Shameless, Too Shameless 4. Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi were stupefied. Both of them were the only few out of all the disciples present who could barely see Lu Mo's attack. However, they saw Lu Mo attacking Yi Qingtang. But whatever that happened later on, the two of them did not even see anything. Li Jingwen was utterly dumbfounded. The smile that he had a while ago was, however, completely frozen on his face at this moment. Disbelief filled his eyes as he looked at Lu Mo, who collapsed on the ground not far away. Senior brother Lu? Li Jingwen spoke hesitantly as he looked at Lu Mo. However, Lu Mo's face was filled with pain. It was as though his body suffered an extremely huge blow, and all his bones were forcibly crushed by someone. Not mentioning standing up, he did not even have the energy to speak. Stunned, everyone's eyes returned back to Yi Qingtang. It was then that everyone realized Yi Qingtang had been standing at the same spot with her hands behind, and even her left foot did not move at all. Only her right foot had moved a few inches from before. Thank you for your guidance, senior brother Lu, Yi Qingtang said flatly with cupped fists. However, the entire admirable Sky Peak was dead silent. Lu Mo was defeated. He was actually defeated in Yi Chen's hands. What was more unbelievable was that Yi Qingtang really did not use any weapons, or her hands as she said before. Even more so, she did not even use her left leg. It was just the lifting of a leg at that moment. But it caused Lu Mo to look half alive. Li Jingwen's face stiffened. He looked at Lu Mo, who was on the ground, and then at Yi Qingtang, who was standing there perfectly fine. Coldness spread from the sole of his feet. What kind of monster was Yi Chen? He was at most 15 or 16 years old. How could he possess the skills to defeat Lu Mo? Li Jingwen thought that he could definitely pay back the humiliation that Yi Qingtang made him suffer a few days ago, and did not think that the outcome would be like that. Lu Mo was already defeated, and Li Jingwen was unwilling to remain in Admirable Sky Peak any longer. He immediately supported the pale Lu Mo up, and left Admirable Sky Peak in a flurry. When the two of them left, the Admirable Sky Peak disciples still wore shocked expressions as they stared at the good-looking youth unbelievably. First Li Jingwen, next Lu Mo. How deep were Yi Qingtang's skills? Everyone just realized how ridiculous their conjecture of Yi Qingtang was. How did Yi Qingtang say that because she was afraid of losing too badly? She had that confidence because she clearly overpowered Lu Mo. In just a moment, The shock and blank expressions that the disciples were looking at Yi Qingtang with gradually turned into ones of admiration. Even if their eldest senior brother, Gu Yihan, attacked today, he probably would not be able to defeat Lu Mo so easily under these conditions. Didn't they say that? Junior brother Yes spirit root is only a yellow spirit root? Are these skills what a yellow spirit root can cultivate? Yin Qinglua was curious. The grade of a spirit root was not absolute in one's cultivation advancement. However, it couldn't be so exaggerated, could it? Yi Ningxi was astonished as well. Which ancient family clan nurtured junior brother Yi? He is only this young, but he is already so invincible? Chapter 770 Full Moon Peak 1. They really looked down on Yi Qingtang previously, and thought that she was apprenticed to their master by artifice. Yet unexpectedly, this fellow actually had such frightening skills himself. Even Yi Ningxi, who had extensive knowledge, was truly convinced this time. After dealing with Lu Mo, Yi Qingtang did not think much of it, and went to do her things. Gu Yihan, who rushed over a moment later, learned of Yi Qingtang's actions from the others and was shocked. Yi Qingtang thrashed the top disciples of Blue Cloud Peak and Watercut Peak successively, which truly allowed the admirable Sky Peak disciples, who had been holding themselves back for a long time, to feel avenged. In just half a day, all the admirable Sky Peak disciples already knew about Yi Qingtang's actions. Many disciples who had been repressed by these two peaks were overcome with emotions after knowing about the incident. When dusk fell, a handsome man in green clothes stood under the moonlight on Falling Sky Valley's full moon peak. The moonlight scattered on his slender body, and it was as though his body was plated in a layer of pale light. The youth was standing with his hands behind him. A pot of top-grade wine was placed on the stone table in front of him. A full moon peak disciple rushed to that man's side hurriedly. Senior brother Xianyuan. The man standing under the moonlight was Falling Sky Valley's #1 talent, Xianyuan Lai. Xianyuan Lai was currently waiting for Lu Mo to come over for a drink. Is junior brother Lu here? Xianyuan Lai asked that disciple who rushed over. That disciple replied, Senior brother Xianyuan, I'm afraid senior brother Lu is unable to come today. Xianyuan Lai frowned slightly. Why? Senior brother Lu was severely injured by Yi Chun of Admirable Sky Peak, and is currently recuperating in Watercut Peak. I heard from the physician that he may not recover fully even after half a month of rest, the disciple said. What? Surprise flashed across Xianyuan Lai's face. Then, the disciple told Xianyuan Lai the news he heard from Watercut Peak in full detail. Xianyuan Lai's brows were slightly furrowed. Yi Chen? Is he the disciple whom perfected Xianchen just accepted? Yes. Xianyuan Lai thought for a moment and said, I know already. You may retreat. After that disciple retreated, Xianyuan Lai suddenly turned around and headed to Full Moon Peak's main hall. Full Moon Peak's Peak Master was seated at the main seat of the hall as he read through the files before him. Grandfather. Xianyuan Lai walked into the main hall with great strides and greeted the Full Moon Peak's Peak Master. Full Moon Peak's Peak Master was already over 50 years old, but there were not too many traces of his age on his face. His bright eyes were threateningly sharp. In the entire Falling Sky Valley, Full Moon Peak's Peak Master was at the Yin-Yang perfected Lord state already, and his skills were only second to the old Valley Master. Didn't you ask Lu Mo out for a drink today? Why are you back now already? Full Moon Peak's Peak Master asked his grandson, whom he took pride in. Xianyuan Lai took a step forward and immediately told the Full Moon Peak Master about Lu Mo. The Full Moon Peak Master frowned slightly upon hearing it. Perfected Zuanchen's newly accepted disciple really has this ability? He defeated Lu Mo with just one move. Yes. Xianyuan Lai nodded. Full Moon Peak Master narrowed his eyes slightly. Given your skills, how would it be if you fought Lu Mo? I naturally have the confidence to defeat him within a move, Xianyuan Lai said confidently. Chapter 771 Full Moon Peak 2. In Falling Sky Valley, although Lu Mo's skills are second to you, the gap between you two is extremely wide. Full Moon Peak Master spoke slowly, but his confidence in his grandson was evident in his tone. I've never nurtured you as an ordinary disciple. Full Moon Peak Master told Xianyuan Lai. I understand, replied Xianyuan Lai. His usual cultivation was separated from other disciples, and his cultivation method was personally chosen by his grandfather. Even those disciples under his grandfather were completely unaware of his cultivation method. The Full Moon Peak Master nodded slightly and continued. Are you bothered by that, Yi Chen? Xianyuan Lai said. I don't think much of that, Yi Chen. It's just that he is perfected Zuanshan's disciple. When the old Valley Master wanted to pass the acting Valley Master position to perfected Xianchen, all the peaks in Falling Sky Valley were very dissatisfied. In terms of skills and qualifications, which of them are you not better than perfected Xianchen? You're clearly more suitable to be Falling Sky Valley's Valley Master than him. All of perfected Zuanshan's disciples are mediocre, and I haven't even paid attention to Gui Han. Yi Chen is of dubious background and could defeat Lu Mo despite his young age. When perfected Xianchen accepted him back then, people already found it strange, and it said that Yi Chen is only a yellow spirit root. But currently, the skills that Yi Chen displayed does not seem to be from those of an ordinary yellow spirit root. I think that there may be some special relationship between Yi Chen and perfected Xianchen. Moreover, just a few days after Yi Chen entered the valley, he sparred with Blue Cloud Peak's Li Jingguan and Water Cut Peak's Lu Mo, and even defeated them. I think that it's very possible that he did this because perfected Xianchen hinted to him in secret and wanted to make use of this to beat us 3 peaks. Xianyuan Lai said coldly. Blue Cloud Peak and Water Cut Peak depended on Full Moon Peak and were at odds with perfected Xianchen. Previously, the only disciple that Admirable Sky Peak could show off was Gui Han. Moreover, Gui Han could contend against Lu Mo at most, but it was insufficient for him to achieve victory. Yi Qingtang just entered the valley, but she picked up troubles with the other 2 peaks successively, which was clearly directed against them. Oh! Full Moon Peak Master raised a brow. What plans do you have then? Xianyuan Lai scoffed coldly. Perfected Xianchen snatched your Valley Master position back then. Since Yi Chen is his disciple, there's no need for me to be polite with him. Did Yi Qingtang wishfully think that she could dominate over the other disciples in Falling Sky Valley? It was simply delusional. The Full Moon Peak Master nodded. He did not pay much attention to Yi Qingtang. However, since his own grandson found the other party as an eyesore, it was not bad to deal with him now. Forget it. Just make whatever arrangements you're thinking of. There's no need to tell me. You just need to remember that you're different from all the Falling Sky Valley's disciples. Your future is to be the Valley Master of Falling Sky Valley. The Full Moon Peak Master hinted. He did not raise his grandson so painstakingly to let him become an ordinary disciple. He would take back perfected Zuanshan's Valley Master position sooner or later, and he would definitely pass this position down to Xianyuan Lai in the future. Xianyuan Lai's eyes flickered, and he said immediately, I understand. Don't worry, grandfather. Chapter 772 Peerless School 1. After the incidents with Li Jingguan and Lu Mo, Yi Qingtang's reputation soared among the Admirable Sky Peak disciples. Everyone called senior brother Yi resoundingly. Because of Yi Qingtang's actions, many Admirable Sky Peak disciples were heavily influenced. Although they closely obeyed perfected Zuanshan's orders to not stir up troubles, they no longer swallowed their anger in silence like before. They struck when they had to. The change in the Admirable Sky Peak disciples fell into Yi Qingtang's eyes. A few days ago, she just received news from Master Du. When she went to the Bliss Forging workshop the other time, she had already left a message for Master Du that she was willing to collaborate with him on the Dragon Vein. Currently, Master Du had already made all the preparations and asked to meet Yi Qingtang tomorrow morning. Then they would head to the Dragon Vein. Yi Qingtang made some preparations. However, when she walked around Falling Sky Valley in the afternoon, she faintly sensed that there was something wrong with the atmosphere in Falling Sky Valley. Junior brother Yi. Yin Qingluo saw Yi Qingtang from afar and walked over immediately. Senior sister Yin. Did anything happen in the valley? Yi Qingtang questioned. Yin Qingluo took a look at Yi Qingtang and sighed subsequently. The Peerless School people are here. Peerless School. Yi Qingtang's eyes darkened. The Peerless School was a top force in Nine Knights Dynasty, and even super forces like Tiangang Sect and Falling Sky Valley were beneath the Peerless School. The Peerless School possessed the most powerful figures in Nine Knights Dynasty, and their might was not what Falling Sky Valley could compare to. Junior brother Yi, you just entered the valley, and may not be clear about the Peerless School. The Peerless School is in charge of various forces in Nine Knights Dynasty, and even our Falling Sky Valley has to offer tributes to them regularly. There was helplessness in Yin Qingluo's tone. The power and influence of the Peerless School were not what ordinary people could match up with. The tributes they wanted was an enormous sum, and it was extremely difficult for even a force like Falling Sky Valley to pool sufficient tributes. The old Valley Master of Falling Sky Valley refused to offer tributes to the Peerless School because the tributes they wanted were too enormous. However, after that, the old Valley Master was severely injured in an accident. Although this seemed to be unrelated to the Peerless School, anyone with discerning eyes was clearly aware that the Peerless School people were the only ones in Nine Knights Dynasty who could injure the old Valley Master. The Peerless School asked for something big this time. I'm afraid Master will be troubled again. Yin Qingluo sighed. Just as they were talking, a row of people suddenly entered Falling Sky Valley's square with a crowd surrounding them. There were two young men in long gowns who looked at most over 20, yet wore haughty expressions. Many Falling Sky Valley's wardens and disciples followed beside those two people. We were unaware that the Peerless School's envoys would be here today. Please pardon us for not receiving you all earlier, Xiongfeng said politely as he followed the two Peerless School disciples. As a Falling Sky Valley warden, his face was, however, piled with smiles of flattery. Do we still have to let your Falling Sky Valley know when we're coming? A Peerless School disciple swept a glance at Xiongfeng coldly. A layer of cold sweat covered Xiongfeng's forehead immediately. The other wardens hurriedly spoke up. There were many Falling Sky Valley disciples near the square. Once they saw the two young men from the Peerless School, respect filled their eyes as they kept a distance away quietly. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.